Chapter 239. That beautiful figure was about 1.75 meters tall. Her two slender legs made her look incomparably tall. Her skin was like congealed fat, delicate and tender. Her facial features were exquisite and translucent. Her jade-like big eyes carried a trace of soul-stealing charm. She was a peerless beauty. Any man who saw her would be infatuated and driven crazy. Even Qin Feiyang's eyes were filled with amazement. As for Wolf King, he didn't feel anything at all. Perhaps the standards of beauty of beasts and humans were different. But Lu Hong was a little jealous in her heart. She's beautiful, but this was her appearance from 20 years ago. Who knows what she looks like now? Every woman had a heart that loved beauty. Seeing a beautiful woman, they would naturally feel uncomfortable in their hearts. Lion-headed Eagle said, "With master's cultivation, there shouldn't be much change." "Is she very strong?" Fatso was surprised. "Aren't you talking nonsense? It's an existence of the War Emperor realm that dominates the Swallowpan mountain range, let alone its master." Qin Feiyang rolled his eyes at Fatso. Lion-headed Eagle said, "Now tell me, what do you want this emperor to help you with?" Fatso and Lu Hong immediately became excited. Qin Feiyang took out 2 potential pills and handed them to Fatso and Lu Hong. He said cautiously, "Opening the gate of potential is not a child's play. If you can't hold on, you will die on the spot. Are you ready?" The two nodded and each took a potential pill. When they saw the pain that Qin Feiyang and Wolf King suffered when they opened the gate of potential in the square outside the palace, they were already mentally prepared. Qin Feiyang looked at the two deeply, turned his head to look at Lion-headed Eagle, and said, "Senior Beast Emperor, you only need to release your pressure." Lion-headed Eagle said in surprise, "Wait, you mean they want to use this emperor's pressure to open the gate of potential?" Qin Feiyang nodded. Lion-head Eagle said, "It's impossible to succeed. I advise you to give up." Fatso and Lu Hong looked at each other and directly threw the potential pill into their mouths. Once he consumed the potential pill, there was no turning back. Because if they didn't clench their teeth and persevere, the energy of the potential pill would tear their bodies apart. Qin Feiyang and Wolf King quickly retreated to the side. "Senior, let's start. Even if I fail, I will die with no regrets." Fatso looked at the lion-head eagle and pleaded. Boom! The lion-headed eagle didn't try to persuade him any further. Instead, it unleashed all of its pressure, and it surged toward the two of them. This pressure. Qin Feiyang was greatly shocked. The lion-head eagle's strength was actually not weaker than Yan Nanshan's. It was even stronger. Ah! At the same time, Fatso and Lu Hong screamed with heart-wrenching pain. Blood spurted out from all the pores on his body. In an instant, it was as if they were bathed in blood. It was a tragic sight. Boom! About 10 breaths passed. A muffled explosion sounded from within their bodies at the same time. A dazzling white light bloomed from their chests. "Senior Beast Emperor, quickly retract your aura." Qin Feiyang hurriedly shouted. When the lion-headed eagle retracted its pressure, a man and a wolf quickly ran over. At the same time, Fatso and Lu Hong were lying on the ground, panting heavily. Their faces were filled with fear. Although it was only a short 10 breaths, it felt like a few centuries to them. Qin Feiyang ran to the two of them. Without saying a word, he took out 2 supreme-grade healing pills and fed them to them. "How do you feel?" the Wolf King said with a gloating smile. Lu Hong smiled bitterly. "I feel like I walked through the gates of hell." Fatso said, "If it wasn't for the fact that it can open the door of potential, Fat Lord really wouldn't want to suffer like this." Only now did they understand the pain that Qin Feiyang and Wolf King had faced back then. Wolf King chuckled. "Since it's so painful, then forget about the second level of the door of potential." "No," Fatso and Lu Hong said in unison without hesitation. Qin Feiyang shook his head and laughed. "The pain of opening the second level is several times more intense than the first. Rest well for a few days and be mentally prepared." The two of them nodded. Did it really work? The lion-headed eagle floating at the side was filled with disbelief. Until now, it still couldn't accept this fact. Qin Feiyang stood up and looked at the lion-headed eagle. "Senior Beast Emperor, before going to the ruins, I want to make a trip to Kingpan City." "Why are you going to Kingpan City? You want to burn the bridge after crossing the river?" The lion-headed eagle's gaze became extremely sharp. It thought that after helping Fatso and Lu Hong break through the warrior realm, Qin Feiyang was going to act shamelessly. Because as long as they reached King Pan City, it couldn't do anything to Qin Feiyang. Qin Feiyang smiled bitterly. Senior, you think too much. I'm going to King Pan City purely to buy some herbs. Herbs? The lion-headed eagle was stunned and asked, You're an alchemist? Qin Feiyang nodded. The lion-headed eagle pondered for a moment and said, You can go to King Pan City, but I want to go with you. I'm not burning the bridge after crossing the river. Because when they've rested, they still need your help to open the second level of the door of potential. Moreover, you're so big. My hiding treasure can't fit you at all. How can you go with me? Qin Feiyang was helpless. Was he so untrustworthy? You want to open the second level? The lion-headed eagle was shocked, but it sneered. When you enter King Pan City, you can ask other combat emperors for help. Human boy, you really have a good plan. You want me to send you back to King Pan City, and then you get rid of me. You're really smart. Unfortunately, I'm not so easy to fool. The lion-headed eagle's eyes flickered with an astonishing light. Qin Feiyang was a little annoyed. Fine, you can go with us, but the premise is that you can't attract other people's attention. That's simple. The lion-headed eagle shook its body and turned into the size of a palm. It was like an owl flapping its wings. It was less ferocious than before and more docile. It was even a little cute. If they didn't see it with their own eyes, they would never think that it was the Swallowpan Mountain Range's emperor. What's going on? Wolf King was dumbfounded. He couldn't even speak clearly. Fatso and Qin Feiyang were the same. The ferocious bird that was more than 10 meters long suddenly turned into the size of a palm? What kind of joke was this? Was it a magic trick? Transformation pill. Qin Feiyang spat out the name word by word. What transformation pill? Fatso and Qin Feiyang as well as Wolf King looked at him in surprise. Qin Feiyang said, When a beast takes it, it can freely change the size of its body. However, this kind of pill is very rare even in the imperial capital. The state capital must also have it. But it was definitely more precious than the imperial capital. Couldn't even be measured by price. From this, it could be seen that the lion-headed eagle's owner must have an extraordinary background. Fatso and Qin Feiyang, as well as Wolf King, suddenly understood and looked at the lion-headed eagle in surprise. They weren't stupid. From Qin Feiyang's words they could think of some clues. At the same time, the bewilderment in the lion-headed eagle's heart became more and more uncontrollable. He knew everything. Nothing could be hidden from him. What was the background of this human youth? Qin Feiyang waved his hand and sent Fatso and Qin Feiyang to the castle. He smiled and said, Senior Beast Emperor, there's no time to lose. Let's set off immediately. The lion-headed eagle returned to its true form and carried Qin Feiyang. Like a bolt of lightning, it flew towards Pan County. The beasts below all prostrated themselves on the ground to send them off, including the dozen or so War Emperor realm beasts. 4 days later, a one-armed brawny man walked out of a dense forest near Panwang City. On his shoulder stood a cute owl. It was Qin Feiyang and the lion-headed eagle. The lion-headed eagle was puzzled. Human boy, why did you change your appearance? Qin Feiyang said, I have offended a lot of people in Panwang City. If I show my true appearance, I am afraid that I will be killed before I even enter the city. At the city gate, pedestrians came and went. Qin Feiyang stood beside a small tree, observed for a moment and gradually frowned. He found that everyone who entered and left Panwang City would be checked by the Heaven's Eye Stone. It seemed Panwang had not given up on looking for Theta Wang. What's wrong? The lion-headed eagle was puzzled. Qin Feiyang said, I'm afraid we have to change places and go to Haiyun City. Do you know the way to Haiyun City? I know. The lion-headed eagle nodded and said, but there is no need to take a detour. This emperor will take you directly in. Before his voice faded, Qin Feiyang only felt his body lighten, and the scenery in front of him retreated like lightning. Almost in the blink of an eye, he appeared in the middle of the crowd on the streets of the city. The crowd around didn't notice that there was an extra person out of thin air. Even if someone noticed, they didn't take it to heart. As for the guards at the city gate, they didn't notice at all. They only felt a light breeze blowing past them. So fast. Qin Feiyang was secretly speechless. If he had such a fast speed and such strong strength, why would he be afraid of Pan Wang and the others? Flower brothel. Qin Feiyang sat in a corner of the lobby, drinking a little wine while listening to the discussions around him. Do you know? Qin Feiyang has died in the Swallowpan mountain range. How is that possible? Who did you hear it from? My second uncle is a guard of the palace and is responsible for guarding the throne room. He heard the discussion between the commander and Pan Wang with his own ears. A conversation attracted Qin Feiyang's attention. He looked in the direction of the voice. He saw a few young people in their 20s gathered together at the table next to him, whispering. Strange. How did Pan Wang and the commander know that I have died in the Swallowpan mountain range? Qin Feiyang was puzzled. Could it be that they were also present at that time? He stood up holding a wine glass with a smile on his face and tried to get close to those people. A moment later, he finally found out that it was the Grand Commander who had been tailing them ever since they left Pan County. Pan Wang, Commander, you are courting death. Qin Feiyang's killing intent surged. He originally just wanted to know if anything major had happened in Pan Wang City in the past few days. But he didn't expect. In the end, he learned such a shocking piece of news. After chatting with those people for a while and seeing that there was no more useful news, Qin Feiyang stood up and left for the treasure pavilion. Chapter 240. Entering the treasure pavilion, Qin Feiyang asked Steward Wang to purchase a large number of medicinal herbs. Basically, they were all useful. Healing pills, bone replenishing pills, qi gathering pills, battle qi pills, and so on. Of course, because the quantity was too large, Steward Wang didn't hesitate to ask about Qin Feiyang's background. But every time Qin Feiyang easily dealt with him. Moreover, Qin Feiyang also spent a large sum of money to purchase 5 regeneration pills in case he needed them. Next, with the help of the lion head eagle, Qin Feiyang smoothly left Kingpan City and entered the deep mountains, summoning Fatso, Lu Hong, and Wolf King. After 4 days of cultivation, Fatso and Lu Hong's essence, qi and spirit had recovered to their peak state. With their unyielding spirit and fearless spirit, they also successfully broke through the martial master realm and opened the second level of the door of potential. Their cultivation speed had already surpassed Wolf King's. After all, Wolf King had only opened the first level. Qin Feiyang also took a regeneration pill. His lost left arm was finally restored to its original state. Fatso and Lu Hong rested for a while, found a pool to wash off the bloodstains on their bodies, and changed into clean clothes. The lion head eagle opened the portal and went to the ruins. A bottomless abyss lay across the earth, dividing heaven and earth into 2 different worlds. In the abyss a black storm raged, making ear-piercing whining sounds. Above the abyss there was an ancient iron chain bridge. The bridge was rusty and exuded an ancient aura. It was only wide enough for one person to walk on. It shook violently under the strong wind like a swing, making people afraid to step on it. Buzz! In the void above the bridge, a door of light appeared out of thin air. The lion head eagle brought Qin Feiyang and the others out of the door of light and landed in front of the bridge. What a terrifying storm! Fatso immediately shrank his neck and quickly retreated. The aura emitted by the black storm made him feel like the god of death had arrived. This abyss is called the Black Abyss. It surrounds the entire ruins. The black hurricane in the abyss is strong enough to tear a battle emperor into pieces. This iron chain bridge is the only way to enter the ruins. Lion head eagle's pupils contracted as he explained in a grave tone. Qin Feiyang was also shocked. The land of ruins, the Black Abyss, the chain bridge, and the hurricane. He had only heard of them before. But when he came here he realized that they were even more terrifying than the rumors. He followed the iron chain bridge and looked at the ruins on the other side. However, the ruins were too far away, so he couldn't see them clearly. However, they could see that the sky above the ruins was shrouded in a layer of haze that could not be dispersed, giving off a very deep sense of oppression. Unknowingly, his mood became heavy. Looking at the sky above their heads, there were dark clouds for thousands of miles and the sun was shining brightly. The Black Abyss seemed to be a dividing line, dividing the world into 2 halves. This scene was too miraculous and bizarre. I can't go. Fatso mumbled to himself as his body trembled uncontrollably. Senior Beast Emperor. There is no black hurricane in the sky. Can we fly directly over it? Lu Hong asked. She was doing well. She raised her head and looked at the sky in confusion. Although her face was a little pale, at least she wasn't as timid as Fatso. Lionhead Eagle didn't answer and looked at Qin Feiyang. It wanted to see if this human was really omnipotent and omniscient. Qin Feiyang smiled and said, "It's said that the space above the abyss is enveloped by an extremely terrifying gravitational force. Any living being that wants to fly over will fall into the abyss under the pressure of the gravitational force and be mercilessly killed by the storm." Lionhead Eagle's pupils contracted. He couldn't help but ask, "Who are you?" Qin Feiyang smiled and said, "I'm just an ordinary person. Who are you trying to fool? How could an ordinary person know this?" Lionhead Eagle rolled its eyes. Qin Feiyang turned to look at Lionhead Eagle and said with a smile, "Senior Beast Emperor, lead the way." "I'm not going," Lionhead Eagle said. Fatso said angrily, "We are going to save your master. But you are hiding and sending us to our deaths. Aren't you too cunning?" Lionhead Eagle said, "I don't deny that I am indeed selfish. If you don't return in 10 years, I will continue to look for people to enter the ruins." Wolf King said unhappily, "You are quite direct." Lionhead Eagle didn't care. A black feather fell from its body and floated in front of Qin Feiyang. "I don't know where Master is, but if you meet her, this feather will shine and guide you to find her," Lionhead Eagle said. Qin Feiyang grabbed the feather and put it into his Qinkuan bag. He asked, "Have you looked for others before?" "Yes, but when they came here they all began to regret. In the end they were all thrown into the black abyss by me," Lionhead Eagle said. Fatso's face turned pale. It seemed that he had to go today. Huff! Qin Feiyang took a deep breath. After sending Fatso and Wolf King into the castle, he looked up at the Iron Chain Bridge and walked up without hesitation. Lionhead Eagle said loudly, "For the next 10 years, I will be waiting for you here. I wish you a triumphant return. Just don't forget your promise." Qin Feiyang said without turning his head and walked towards the opposite side step by step. The Iron Chain Bridge was shaking violently. There was nothing to hold on to on either side. Could be said that it was difficult to move. After walking for only a dozen meters, he almost fell down twice. Huff! Looking at the endless Iron Chain Bridge, Qin Feiyang let out a long breath. He squatted down and firmly grabbed the edges of both sides, moving towards the opposite side bit by bit. A full 10 days passed. Qin Feiyang could finally see the ruins. But what he saw was only the tip of the iceberg. There was no sign of life. It was like a land of death. In the void there was a thin layer of black mist. Although it didn't affect his vision, it made him feel uncomfortable. And not far from the bridge, there was a dark castle, exuding a mysterious and cold aura. Another half an hour passed. Qin Feiyang finally stepped onto the ground of the ruins. The first feeling was cold. It wasn't the cold weather. It was a kind of gloomy cold, as if he was in hell. It made him feel uncomfortable and even a little scared. Involuntarily, Qin Feiyang's pores relaxed and his body and mind entered a state of vigilance. Looking around, it was all desolation. The barren land, the barren mountains, and the barren rivers. It was as if he was the only person in this world. It was completely silent. An inexplicable loneliness and panic emerged uncontrollably and attacked his heart. He hurriedly called Wolf King out to accompany him. As for Fatso and Lu Hong, they had just opened the second level of the Gate of Potential and were busy cultivating. Why is this place so deserted? As soon as Wolf King came out and saw the scenery in front of him, his pupils couldn't help but shrink. "Be careful," Qin Feiyang warned and turned around to look behind him. The Iron Chain Bridge was still there, and there was no change. But he had a very real feeling that the Iron Chain Bridge had become different from before. His eyes flickered, and he carefully stepped out with his right foot. As soon as he landed on the Iron Chain Bridge, a terrifying gravity came crashing down. In an instant, his entire right foot was directly crushed by the gravity. Blood splattered in the sky. A heart-wrenching pain swept through his heart like a tide. Qin Feiyang screamed, lost his balance, and fell into the abyss. Damn it! Qin Feiyang was anxious. Seeing that Qin Feiyang was about to fall into the black abyss, Wolf King heard the movement, turned around abruptly, bit his clothes and pulled back hard. Poochie! His clothes were torn, but Qin Feiyong was also pulled back. Sitting on the ground, he looked at the iron chain bridge in shock, his face pale. What's going on? Wolf King was surprised and walked towards the iron chain bridge. Don't go. Qin Feiyong's face changed. He hurriedly dragged him and said, there is a gravity on the bridge now. My leg was crushed by the gravity. What? Wolf King was frightened and stepped back, his eyes full of horror. Qin Feiyong took out a regeneration pill and swallowed it. While looking at the iron chain bridge, he waited for his right leg to be repaired. Wolf King asked, then how are we going to go back in the future? Qin Feiyong pondered for a moment and said, let's talk about it later. There will definitely be a way. Fortunately, he had the foresight to prepare a few more regeneration pills. Otherwise, he would have become a cripple now. After his right leg was repaired, Qin Feiyong got up and moved, then turned and walked towards the Black Castle. Wolf King followed closely beside him. In this place everything was unknown. He could not be careless. After walking for a while, Qin Feiyong frowned and said, the essence of this place is too thin. Wolf King nodded. He finally understood why Qin Feiyong would go to Panwang City and buy a large number of medicinal herbs. Because in such a place, if there were no pills, it would be impossible to cultivate. A moment later, before they arrived at the castle gate was closed, and a cold aura blew in their faces. Qin Feiyong casually looked around. Suddenly, his whole body was cold, and his eyes were locked on the top of the castle. He saw a black-haired old man standing there. He was skinny and wore a black robe. His hair was disheveled and his eyes were deep, emitting a gloomy light. He lowered his head and stared at the man and the wolf. At first glance, he looked like a ghost from hell, making Qin Feiyong and Wolf King's scalps go numb. Suddenly, the black-clothed old man jumped down with a terrifying grin and landed on the ground. The man and the wolf tensed up and quickly retreated. The black-clothed old man grinned and said, the environment outside is so good, but you still came to the ruins. You are really stupid. Qin Feiyong stabilized his mind and said helplessly, I have no choice. I have offended too many people. If I don't enter the ruins, I will die. Most of the people in the ruins came here to take refuge because they were being hunted down. But now they all regret it. They would rather die outside than stay here and suffer, including this old man. It won't be long before you regret it too. The black-clothed old man laughed sinisterly. Since we're here, let's take it easy. Qin Feiyong sighed. In that case, come in with this old man. Chapter 241. The old man in black strode into the castle. Qin Feiyong and Wolf King looked at each other and cautiously followed him in. The castle was extremely dark and filled with a gloomy aura. In the middle of the room, there was a shabby wooden table. On the table there was also a black dagger. The old man in black walked to the wooden table, grabbed the dagger, and turned to look at the man and the wolf. What do you want to do? Wolf King immediately took a step back, a fierce light flashing in his eyes. Looking at the man and the wolf, the old man in black slowly raised the dagger, put it to his mouth and licked the blade. He looked like a butcher with a butcher's knife in his hand. Don't be nervous, this is just a rule. Every newcomer has to leave a mark on them. I have one on me too. The old man in black smiled sinisterly and pushed away the messy black hair on his forehead, revealing a forehead full of wrinkles. Qin Feiyong's pupils contracted. In the middle of the old man in black's forehead, there were two small black words. The two words were ruins. The old man in black said, "This is the identity mark of the ruins. If you don't have this mark, it means that you are not recognized by the ruins and everyone will see you as an enemy." Qin Feiyong frowned. Moreover, this dagger is made of special materials. The words engraved on it will never disappear. Unless you cut off the flesh on your forehead. You have no choice because once you step into the ruins, no one can leave. The old man in black laughed sinisterly and did not hide his threat at all. Can we change places? Qin Feiyong frowned. It was too unsightly to engrave it on the forehead. Sure, other than the forehead, you can also engrave it on the left or right face. Anyway, as long as it's on the face, But before that, hand over the Qiankuan bag. Otherwise, I won't engrave the mark on you. Soon you will be cruelly killed or even dismembered. At this moment, the old man in black's eyes were full of greed and his threat was undisguised. A cold light suddenly flashed in the depths of the man and the wolf's eyes. Qin Feiyong said helplessly, "Senior, I also want to give you the Qiankuan bag. But my Qiankuan bag was accidentally destroyed when I was chased by my enemies. Now I'm even poorer than you." "Hey, little guy, you are very dishonest. This old man has been observing you ever since you set foot on the wasteland. I saw you take out your Qiankuan bag and take out an elixir. That elixir should be the regeneration elixir." The old man in black laughed sinisterly. "Bastard little Qin Zi. Find a chance," the Wolf King said telepathically. "You want to know this old man's cultivation and then kill me. Do you think you can escape this calamity?" Qin Feiyong's heart trembled. This old man is too smart. The old man in black said disdainfully, however, "I really don't take you seriously. You two small fries, listen carefully. I am a 5-star martial grandmaster." "What?" Qin Feiyong and Wolf King were dumbfounded on the spot. A man who looks very powerful is only a 5-star martial grandmaster? Are you kidding? The next moment, Qin Feiyong attacked as expected. The wind thunder palm carried a terrifying wind and hit the old man in black's chest. Puff! The old man in black spat out a mouthful of blood on the spot and flew out. Crack! The wooden table behind him was smashed into pieces in an instant. Then, it hit the wall behind and finally rolled to the ground with a bang. The old man in black was a little confused. His face was pale and he was dizzy. This young man is actually so powerful? He originally thought that a 15 or 16-year-old young man would be at most a martial master. But he never expected that the power of that palm was stronger than his. Then, he flew into a rage out of humiliation and his face was distorted. He looked coldly at Qin Feiyong and said, "You dare to attack me? Damn!" Qin Feiyong landed in front of the black-clothed old man and mercilessly kicked the black-clothed old man's lower abdomen. The old man in black hit the wall and curled up in the corner, wailing. Wolf King ran up and scolded, "A mere 5-star martial grandmaster dares to be so arrogant in front of us. Do you want to die? I'll let you taste the holy water." He laughed sinisterly, lifted his leg and sprayed a pool of urine on the old man in black's face. "Bastard, I'm going to kill you." The old man in black was mad with anger. But before he could get up, Qin Feiyong kicked him again. The old man in black's head hit the wall and immediately saw stars. Blood kept spurting out of his mouth. "Bastard, if I'm still at my peak, I'll kill you like killing dogs." He moaned helplessly, his face full of resentment. "Peak." The man and the wolf were stunned. Qin Feiyong crossed his arms and asked curiously, "Then tell me, how strong were you at your peak?" "When I first entered the ruins, I was a 9-star martial grandmaster. I thought that no matter how bad the ruins were, there would be no lack of qi gathering pills. But the lack of resources here is beyond imagination. If you want to get a qi gathering pill, you have to pay a huge price. After a few decades, not only did my strength not improve at all, it even fell to a 5-star martial artist. I regret that I shouldn't have. If I could have stayed outside, I would have been a war king long ago. However, tisk, you will soon follow in my footsteps." The old man in black laughed sinisterly. Hearing these words, the man and the wolf were in disbelief. It seemed that they had underestimated the cruelty and viciousness of this place. "Let me go. I don't want to die yet. I don't want your Qiankuan bag. I won't mention you to a third person." The old man in black suddenly begged. Qin Feiyong asked, "Where is the place with the most people in the ruins?" The old man in black hurriedly said, "Monarch City has the most people." Wolf King said, "What is Monarch City? How far is it from here?" The old man in black said, "Monarch City is the capital of the ruins. With your speed, it will take at least half a year to reach here." "So far?" Qin Feiyong frowned and asked, "Is there a shortcut?" "Yes, there is a city in the south called Wuxia City. All the major clans in the city raise a type of flying beast. Ride them and you will reach Monarch City in half a month at most. What else do you want to know? Ask away. As long as you let me live, I will tell you everything." The old man in black said with a flattering smile. How long have you been here? Qin Feiyang asked. The old man in black said, almost 30 years. Qin Feiyang's eyes lit up. The owner of the lion-head eagle entered the ruins more than 20 years ago. This person had been here for more than 30 years, so he must have seen this woman. With a wave of his hand, true energy surged, and a beautiful figure quickly condensed. Have you seen her? Qin Feiyang asked. The old man in black looked up and nodded. Yes, I have. You really have? Qin Feiyang raised his eyebrows. This answer was also fast. It was inevitable that he would be suspected of being perfunctory. Yes, I have. Although I've been guarding this place for several decades, it's only every few years that someone enters the ruins. So, I have a deep impression of everyone as if it was yesterday. The old man in black hurriedly said. Qin Feiyang frowned. Thinking about it, who would want to come to this godforsaken place? He asked, then where did this woman go? Do you know? The old man in black said, I don't know, but at that time she was also inquiring about places with a lot of people. She might have also gone to the royal city. She is also very strong, at least war king. The royal city. Qin Feiyang pondered for a moment, then turned around and strode out of the castle with Wolf King. Little bastard, you are still too inexperienced. When this old man spreads the news of your appearance, you will have a taste of what it means to live a life worse than death. After a while, the old man in black got up in a sorry state and limped out of the hall. Seeing that the man and the wolf had already disappeared, he laughed maniacally. Swish! However, before he could finish, Qin Feiyang and Wolf King appeared out of thin air again. How did you? The old man in black looked at them with a face full of surprise. Appeared out of thin air? Could they turn invisible? Qin Feiyang looked at the old man in black coldly and said, as expected, you can't be soft-hearted at any time. Your Excellency, please spare my life. I was wrong. I was just confused. The old man in black knelt on the ground and begged for mercy. Qin Feiyang didn't say anything and walked toward the old man in black step by step. Go to hell. When the two were only half a meter apart, the old man in black suddenly burst out. With a cruel smile on his old face, he slapped toward Qin Feiyang. Humph! Qin Feiyang snorted coldly. He used the smoke-gathering steps and calmly dodged. Then he raised his arm and pointed at the old man in black's head with his index finger covered with ice crystals. Ah! Crack! A bloody hole suddenly appeared on the head of the old man in black. Blood spurted out like an arrow. Little Qin Zi, if you kill him, will it attract the attention of others? Wolf King asked worriedly. Who will care about a person who can't even get the qi-gathering pill? Qin Feiyang picked up the old man in black and rushed toward the black abyss. When he came to the edge, he threw the old man in black directly on the iron chain bridge. The terrifying gravity crushed the old man in black in an instant. Blood dyed the iron chain red. In this way, even if someone finds out that he is dead, they will only think that he wanted to escape from the ruins. Qin Feiyang smiled faintly. When I first saw it, I was a little nervous, but I didn't expect it to be so trashy. Wolf King said contemptuously. We can't be careless. There must be a lot of strong masters in Monarch City. Qin Feiyang took Wolf King to the castle. When they reappeared, the word ruins was added to their foreheads. It was written with ink. It couldn't be touched by water. Once it was touched by water, it would be exposed. Then the man and the wolf galloped toward the south. Several hours later, they walked for more than 10 miles. They didn't encounter any danger, but they didn't see any people either. Chapter 242. In front of him there was a towering mountain ridge. The highest point was dozens of feet high. A man and a wolf climbed up the mountain ridge and their eyes lit up. The mountains and rivers in front of them were no longer bare. There were small grass and trees growing on them, but they were basically withered and yellow. It had withered. It was hard to find a bit of green. Such a desolate place was not suitable for humans to live in. However, at the bottom of the mountain ridge, one could clearly see that there were many small wooden houses. They were very simple and crude. There were many livestock in the mountain stream. In his line of sight, he could see many figures. There were old and young, men and women, but without exception, they were all lacking in nutrition and were as thin as a match. Moreover, They didn't have any clothes on them. They were all made of dried grass or leaves, woven into a piece of cloth. A man and a wolf felt as if they had arrived at a primitive tribe. The people who live here are really suffering, Qin Feiyang whispered. This was the first time he had seen such an environment and condition in his life. In his heart there was an inexplicable sadness. Wolf King was puzzled. Didn't you say that the people in the ruins are basically from the outside? How can there be ordinary people? Qin Feiyang said. Since the founding of the Great Qin Empire, the ruins have existed. After so many years, a brand new civilization has already been born. Wolf King nodded and asked again, how long has the Great Qin Empire existed? Qin Feiyang said, according to the ancient records, almost 10,000 years. That long? Wolf King's eyes widened in shock. It's not too long. Once a warrior steps into the War Emperor realm, they will have 500 years of life, let alone the Emperor of the Great Qin Empire. The strength of every emperor has already reached a realm that transcends the heavens and the earth. At this point, Qin Feiyang did not continue and walked down the mountain ridge. It wasn't because he was afraid that Lu Hong and Fatso would hear him. It was because there were too many memories that made him sad, angry and hateful. He was afraid that once he thought of them, he would not be able to control his emotions. As they walked down the mountain, they met an old man and a child. The old man's body was bent, leaving only skin and bones. His muddy eyes were filled with despair and helplessness towards life, making him look especially miserable. Children. He was about 12 or 13 years old. He was also skinny and dirty. Children of this age were usually very lively. However, the child in front of him had a wooden expression. His eyes were empty, and there was a hint of sadness in them. How pitiful! Even the ferocious Wolf King could not help but feel pity for him. Such a place shouldn't exist. Qin Feiyang's eyes flashed coldly. If he had a choice, he would rather harden his heart and send these people away from this world than watch them live such a life of despair. The man and the wolf continued to move forward. The people they met were all in similar situations as the old man and the young man. But gradually, traces of ferocious light appeared in those empty eyes. They were like slumbering jackals that were gradually awakening. The atmosphere doesn't seem right. Wolf King scanned those people warily. Let's go, Qin Feiyang said in a low voice. Big brother, wait a moment. But at this moment, a young and unfamiliar voice came from behind him. Qin Feiyang stopped and looked back. He saw the child they met at the beginning trotting towards them. Little brother, what's the matter? Qin Feiyang asked with a smile. The child ran in front of him and looked up at him. His dirty face was full of longing. He asked, Big brother, can you give me something to eat? Qin Feiyang felt an inexplicable sadness in his heart. It was a simple sentence, but it could touch anyone's heart. As long as they were not cold-blooded animals, they would not be able to refuse this child's sincere request. Wolf King said, Little Qin Zi, didn't we kill a lot of ferocious beasts when we were training in the Swallowpan mountain range? Why don't we give them all? Even its heart was melted by her. It could be seen how pitiful the lives of the people here were. Qin Feiyang nodded and took out his Qingquan bag. With a wave of his hand, a large pile of ferocious beasts suddenly appeared on the ground beside him. These ferocious beasts were all edible. But as soon as they saw this pile of ferocious beasts, the people in the entire village instantly went crazy and rushed over. Their eyes were full of greed. Qin Feiyang hurriedly said, Don't fight. Let's share this food equally. But at this moment those people definitely wouldn't listen. In their eyes there was only food. Boom! All of a sudden, Wolf King released a terrifying ferocious beast, and his eyes became extremely terrifying. In an instant, everyone lay on the ground, their bodies trembling. The child next to him was so scared that he cried. Qin Feiyang squatted on the ground, patted the child's shoulder, and said with a smile, Little brother, you are a man. You can't cry, understand? Yes. The child nodded. Maybe it was because he saw Qin Feiyang's pleasant expression that he became bolder. There was a bamboo tube hanging on his shoulder. This was used to hold water. He took out the bamboo tube, handed it to Qin Feiyang, and said with a smile, Big brother, thank you for giving us food. I'll treat you to some water. Qin Feiyang took the bamboo tube, pulled out the stopper, and put it at the tip of his nose to smell it. Suddenly, a strange smell came to his nose. This water couldn't be drunk, but the people here treated it as drinking water. Alas! Qin Feiyong secretly sighed, drank 2 mouthfuls, and returned the bamboo tube to the child. But suddenly, his body trembled slightly, and a stream of blood rushed to his throat. It's poisonous! There was a trace of disbelief in his eyes. On his body, a murderous intent permeated the air. The people here suddenly felt as if they had fallen into a world of ice and snow, and their whole body was cold. But in the end, Qin Feiyong resisted the murderous intent, got up, glanced at the crowd around and said with a faint smile, "Everyone, don't fight. Everyone has a share of this food." The child and the old man were a little flustered. Qin Feiyong looked at the two of them, reached out and rubbed the child's head, and said with a smile, "Little brother, life is not easy, you have to cherish it." The child instinctively nodded. Qin Feiyong withdrew his arm and called out, "White-eyed wolf, let's go." Just as the man and the wolf turned around and were about to leave, the old man suddenly knelt on the ground with a plop and said hoarsely, "Young man, I'm sorry I poisoned the water, please kill me." "It's okay." Qin Feiyong smiled. "Thank you for your magnanimity." The old man kowtowed. Qin Feiyong smiled faintly. In such a desolate place it was impossible to make a deadly poison. In the water just now it was just a very ordinary poison. It was enough to kill a mortal. But to a warrior it was not a threat. The man and the wolf walked a few steps, and the old man said again, "Young man, if you want to survive safely, you'd better change your clothes." Qin Feiyong frowned and looked at the old man in confusion. "In the ruins there are only 2 kinds of people who can wear such gorgeous clothes like you. One is the big shots in the city, the other is the people who just came to the ruins. The big shots in the city live like princes and would never come to such a poor place. So the only explanation is that you just came to the ruins. If you don't change your clothes, you will definitely encounter the same situation again," the old man said. "Thank you for your reminder." Qin Feiyong clasped his hands and quickly left the village with Wolf King. Not only did he give us food, he also didn't care that I poisoned him. He is a good person. The old man looked at the back of the man and wolf, his eyes full of gratitude. The others also watched Qin Feiyong and Wolf King with grateful eyes. Leaving the village, Qin Feiyong took a detoxification pill, and in a few breaths the poison in his body was completely removed. Wolf King teased. He actually let them go. "What kind of wind is blowing today? This is not like the Qin Feiyong I know." "Actually, there are some things that don't have to be solved by killing." Qin Feiyong laughed. "Like just now, if he really killed people, it would only make the people in the village angrier and crazier. But if he repaid evil with good, not only would he gain the other party's respect, but he would also make those people realize their mistakes. Moreover, those people were also forced to make a living. In the past, he always thought that he was the most miserable person in the world. But now, seeing the people here, he realized that he was a relatively lucky person. At least, when he had no one to rely on, he had Uncle Yuan to accompany him. Now he also had Wolf King, Lu Hong, and Fatso to accompany him. He was not alone. Next, Qin Feiyong found a hidden place, found the old linen clothes he wore before, and put them on. And he deliberately made them very ragged and dirty. He really couldn't do it like the people in the village, only covering himself with hay and leaves. Wolf King also deliberately made his face dirty. Right now it didn't look like a wolf at all. It looked more like a dirty wild dog. After disguising themselves, they continued to set off, but they didn't delay their cultivation. They were refining qi gathering pills all the time, and their cultivation was advancing rapidly. Half a month later, a dilapidated ancient city entered the sight of a man and a wolf. Above the city gate, 3 words were engraved: Wohu City. The city wall was riddled with holes. The buildings in the city were also dilapidated. Coupled with the dim sky at first glance, it looked like a gloomy ghost city. At the city gate, there was no one guarding, and it looked very deserted. Hey, there's a wild dog in the city. I've never eaten dog meat before. Little brother, can you sell this wild dog to me? I'll give you a body refining pill in exchange. Don't sell it to him. I'll give you a qi-gathering pill in exchange. As soon as Qin Feiyong and Wolf King entered the city gate, Wolf King became the center of attention and was very popular. But this kind of welcome was somewhat ironic. People on the street surrounded it, staring at it with green eyes, and some even wiped their saliva. Even Wolf King, who was not afraid of anything, couldn't help but feel scared at this moment. These people were simply the reincarnation of hungry ghosts. Where's the wild dog? Get out of my way. A young man wearing ragged linen, surrounded by several naked strong men, arrogantly stood in front of Qin Feiyong and Wolf King. It's the young master of the Wang family. Dodge. Otherwise, the wild dog will lose its life before it can eat it. Chapter 243. Qin Feiyong stopped and frowned. In the beginning it was still a little fresh. But as time went by, these people's indifference became annoying. Brother Wolf was even more ferocious. He could go berserk at any time. It's really a wild dog. When the young man in linen saw Wolf King, his eyes lit up and he couldn't help but swallow his saliva. Young master, you're in for a treat tonight. Young master, we've been following you for so long, don't you think? The burly men next to him had flattering smiles on their faces. Don't worry, I'll give you a few bones to taste. The young man in linen waved his hand and laughed in high spirits. Thank you, young master. You over there, yes, I'm talking about you, quickly send that wild dog to our young master Wang. A few brawny men pointed at Qin Feiyong and shouted arrogantly with their nostrils pointing at the sky. Can we kill people here? The Wolf King's eyes flashed with a ferocious light. The law of survival here is the law of the jungle, what do you think? Qin Feiyong crossed his arms in front of his chest and looked at those people playfully. You don't know what's good for you. Go and cripple him for this young master and slaughter that beast. Young Master Wang's eyes turned cold. As his voice fell, the burly men rubbed their hands and walked towards the man and wolf with a sinister smile. Kid, young master gave you a chance just now, but you didn't cherish it. Now, don't blame us for being ruthless. Dog meat, I can't help but drool when I think about it. A sad smile crept onto their faces. All of a sudden, a wolf's howl resounded in all directions. The Wolf King executed the 7 kill steps, bringing with it a terrifying evil aura as it stomped the few burly men to death. Their heads burst open and blood splattered. So strong. It's not a wild dog, it's a wolf. Wolves are cruel and ruthless, run, or we'll all be eaten by it. The surrounding crowd scattered and began to flee as if their lives depended on it. As for young Master Wang, he was so scared that he pissed his pants. Wolf King chased after him in a few steps. Seeing that his head was about to be crushed by Wolf King's foot, Lin Yun suddenly stopped. Lord Wolf, this lowly one knows his wrongs. This lowly one deserves to die. This lowly one will give you 2 energy-gathering pills. Please spare this lowly one's life. Plop! He knelt on the ground and kept kowtowing. His forehead hit the ground repeatedly. A pungent smell of urine quickly filled the air. Wolf King landed on the ground and said with a chuckle, You dare to be arrogant in front of me with just this bit of strength? Quickly crawl over here and lick the blood off my leg. Then I'll spare your dog life. What? Young Master Wang's face turned green and red. This was a blatant humiliation to him. Furthermore, he was humiliated by a beast. Seems like you still want to die. Wolf King's eyes shone with an ominous light. I'll lick. Young Master Wang hurriedly crawled over. Life and dignity. He chose to abandon his dignity without hesitation. Damn it, you made my leg covered in saliva. So disgusting. You'd better die. Wolf King's eyes were full of disgust. He bit towards his head. Looking at the white fangs, young Master Wang's face turned pale and he fainted on the spot. What's going on? Wolf King was a little dazed. He fainted just like that. Wasn't he too weak? What a terrifying wolf. It's at least at the martial ancestor level. I'm afraid that even the patriarch of the Wang family may not be its opponent. The crowd that had fled far away whispered in fear. And these discussions were all caught by Qin Feiyong. Immediately, he calmed down. The strongest person in Wohu City was a martial ancestor. What was he afraid of? With his and Wolf King's means they could do whatever they wanted. Qin Feiyong walked up and said, Don't kill him. Wake him up. He still has some value. Okay. Let him taste my holy water. Wolf King chuckled. He ran up and peed on young Master Wang's face. The crowd in the distance was dumbfounded. Wasn't this wolf too shameless? What's that smell? So fishy. Young Master Wang woke up immediately and tasted the so-called holy water. He immediately became angry. What's wrong? Is the holy water not good to drink? The Wolf King glared at him. It's good. Young Master Wang nodded repeatedly. His face was full of flattery, but his heart was burning with anger. If it's good, drink more. It can cure all diseases. Normally, I wouldn't be willing to give it to people. You're lucky. The Wolf King chuckled. Yes. Thank you for your reward. Now, young Master Wang could only nod and agree. He didn't dare to have any other thoughts. He was full of regret. If he knew that this was a wolf, and an extremely shameless wolf, he wouldn't have provoked it even if he was beaten to death. It was all because of his gluttony. The people around also looked at each other. After forcing someone to drink that thing, he actually said with conviction that it was a supreme honor. It seemed that young Master Wang was destined to be a tragedy today. Qin Feiyong stepped forward and said, "Take me to your house." What? Not only did he bully young Master Wang, he also wanted to bully his family? This man and wolf were really rampant. Compared to them, those playboys in the city weren't even qualified to carry their shoes. Young Master Wang was also stunned and begged, "Brother, I really know my mistake. Please let me go." Qin Feiyong said coldly, "If you don't lead the way, don't blame me for being rude." Okay, I'll lead the way. Young Master Wang hurriedly got up, turned around with a frightened face, and walked along the main road. Ouch! Isn't this our young Master Wang? How did he end up in such a sorry state? Just as he walked to a crossroad, two young men in linen and a woman walked toward him. Beside them was also a group of servants. The three people looked at young Master Wang with a face full of ridicule. Humph! Young Master Wang snorted coldly, ignored them, bypassed the three people, and walked toward the street on the right. The three people were ready to intercept, but suddenly noticed Wolf King. The woman's eyes suddenly lit up, and she said in surprise, "What a big wild dog." The two young men, as well as those servants, also had their eyes lit up. Young Master Wang stopped, with a sneer at the corner of his mouth. The crowd behind the man and the wolf were also watching coldly. These playboys, usually in the city, were domineering, and no one dared to do anything to them. Might as well take this opportunity to extinguish their arrogance. So, no one present opened their mouth to remind them. The woman shouted, "Whoever kills it, I'll give him a bite of meat." A group of servants, suddenly like hungry tigers pouncing on sheep, rushed toward Wolf King. Why are there so many blind trash? Wolf King glanced at those people, his eyes full of contempt. Boom! Suddenly, its ferocious nature was unleashed. The terrifying ferocious power shocked everyone. Who was the sheep and who was the tiger? Soon it would be clear. Wolf King killed one person with each step. Blood dyed this ancient street red, making the three people scared out of their wits and flee. In the end, more than a dozen corpses were lying messily on the ground. The bloody scene was shocking. But for Qin Feiyong and Wolf King, this was just a small episode. Wang family. It was one of the four major families in Wuhu City. But compared to the families in Yan County and Pan County, it was naturally comparable. The gate and walls of the house were shabby. The inside of the house was extremely simple and crude. It was not an exaggeration to say that even the Lin family in Iron Ox Town could completely crush the Wang family here. Young Master Wang, with a man and a wolf, hurriedly walked toward the wooden building at the end of a winding path. The wooden building, compared to other places, was better. Although it was also old, at least there was no incomplete place. "What do you want?" "Let go of our young master." Behind the man and the wolf, there was a large group of servants and maids of the Wang family. They were all nervous and looked at Qin Feiyong and Wolf King unkindly. "Who are you? What are you doing in my Wang family?" An angry roar sounded. A middle-aged man walked out of the wooden building. When he saw young Master Wang's sorry state, his eyes immediately became gloomy. Young Master Wang hurriedly ran toward the middle-aged man as if he had seen his savior. Qin Feiyong and Wolf King did not stop him. "Father, quickly kill them." Young Master Wang's confidence was boosted, and he stared at the man and the wolf with hatred. "Take them down." The middle-aged man did not allow any explanation and waved his big hand. The servants behind him immediately swarmed up. Bang! Bang! Qin Feiyong used the smoke-gathering steps. In less than 10 breaths, all the servants were lying on the ground, wailing. "So strong." The Wang family head's pupils constricted and he shouted coldly, "You dare to behave atrociously in my Wang family. You really don't know your own weight." Boom! His aura suddenly exploded. He rushed toward Qin Feiyong with a murderous look in his eyes. "Can't see through?" Qin Feiyong raised his eyebrows. He could not see through this person's aura. There was only one explanation. The Wang family head's cultivation was higher than his. Wind Thunder Palm. He waved his palm and collided with the Wang family head's fist. Thump! That moment, both of them retreated a few steps. Qin Feiyong was surprised. He was a 5-star martial ancestor. With the enhancement of the perfect martial technique, he had the strength of a 9-star martial ancestor. The other party's strength was on par with his, which meant that his cultivation was at the 9-star martial ancestor level. But the Wang family head was even more shocked. This person looked to be only 15 or 16 years old. His strength was on par with his? Was he dreaming? Even the geniuses of the capital cities would not be so ridiculously strong either. "Who are you?" The Wang family head's face was filled with awe. Such a strong young man must have a strong background. Moreover, he could also see that the other party had mastered a very powerful martial technique. It was even possible that this young man was a hidden demon in Monarch City. Although the Wang family could dominate a region in Wuxia City, in Monarch City, they were not even considered as ants. Qin Feiyong said, "Who I am is not important. I am here to ask you about a person." "Ask about who?" The Wang family head was puzzled. Qin Feiyong waved his hand and genuine qi emerged, condensing into a beautiful figure. If the owner of the lion-head eagle was really going to Monarch City, then it was very likely that she would come to Wuxia City to find a flying beast. So beautiful. There is actually such a stunning woman in the world. Young Master Wang and the servants suddenly revealed a look of infatuation. Chapter 244. Have you seen her? Qin Feiyong said impatiently. No. Patriarch Wang shook his head and said, "She's so beautiful. If I had seen her, I definitely wouldn't have forgotten her." Qin Feiyong frowned. "Where are the criminals who bullied my daughter?" "Bastard, how dare you behave atrociously in Wuxia City? You really don't know what's good for you. Little bastard, get out here." At this moment, 3 loud roars sounded. Qin Feiyong turned around and saw 3 middle-aged men, with a group of servants, aggressively barging into the Wang family's gate. The woman who escaped earlier and the 2 young men were also present. "Father, it's them." The woman was the first to notice Qin Feiyong and Wolf King, and immediately pointed at them and shouted. Qin Feiyong's eyes flashed coldly and shouted, "Just in time, white-eyed wolf, take them down. Tremble, you ants." Wolf King stepped forward with 7 kill steps, extremely arrogant. A bastard dares to be so arrogant. "I haven't eaten meat for a long time. Kill it, we'll stew it when we get back." The 3 men sneered and released a powerful aura towards Wolf King. Young Master Wang's eyes flashed and whispered in Patriarch Wang's ear, "Father, this is a good opportunity." Patriarch Wang shook his head and said, "No, this person's background is not small, we can't act rashly. What are you afraid of? Kill him, no one will know. What's more, he has mastered martial arts. If we can get his martial arts, the strength of our Wang family will definitely increase several times in a short period of time." Young Master Wang instigated. Martial arts. Patriarch Wang's eyes trembled. Decisively, he punched towards Qin Feiyong. His fist was filled with true qi, emitting a dazzling light. Qin Feiyong was indifferent, as if he didn't notice. On young Master Wang's face, there was already a bright smile. Swish. But at this moment, Qin Feiyong disappeared from their sight like lightning. So fast. The Wang family head's face suddenly changed. The next moment, He felt a sharp pain in his waist as a bloody hole the size of a finger appeared on his lower abdomen. "You're digging your own grave," a sinister voice echoed in his ears. The head of the Wang family turned his head with difficulty and immediately saw a smiling face right in front of him. Who else could it be but Qin Feiyang? Previously, he had used the shifting smoke steps and circled behind the Wang family head. The ice crystal finger had directly pierced through the Wang family head's lower abdomen. Sir, I won't do it again. Please spare my life." The Wang family head screamed and begged for mercy. He really didn't expect that this kid was actually so ridiculously strong. "Repent in hell." Qin Feiyang smiled coldly, and the ice crystal finger landed on the head of the Wang family head. Crack! Accompanied by a shrill scream, the head of the Wang family head shattered on the spot, and he fell to the ground dead. "Father is dead?" Young Master Wang lay on the ground and was scared to the point of peeing again. The family head was killed? Those servants and maids were also in disbelief. This time, another 3 screams sounded. Everyone looked over, and their souls left their bodies. The 3 middle-aged men were also beaten down by the wolf. Lying on the ground, they moaned weakly, and their faces were full of horror. The woman was also the same as young Master Wang. She was so scared that her face turned pale and she was paralyzed on the ground. This man and wolf, who the hell are they? The scene was dead silent. The smell of blood quickly spread in the void. Qin Feiyang walked in front of the 3 middle-aged men, condensed the beautiful figure again and asked, "Have you seen her?" The 3 men looked up. 2 of them had confused looks on their faces, but the other person looked a little surprised. When Qin Feiyang noticed the change in this person, he picked him up and said, "Have you seen her?" "Yes. That was more than 20 years ago. That day, she suddenly came to me and asked me to give her a flying mount. At that time I even had a conflict with her. Her strength is very strong, stronger than you. In front of her I feel like an ant," the big man said in horror. Qin Feiyang was overjoyed and hurriedly said, "Then where did she go?" "Royal City." The big man spat out these 2 words with difficulty. Royal City. Qin Feiyang's eyes lit up. Why did he feel that this woman came to the ruins for the Royal City? Qin Feiyang turned to young Master Wang and shouted, "If you don't want to die, immediately prepare a flying mount for me." "Yes, yes, yes." Young Master Wang quickly nodded, looked at the servant next to him and said angrily, "What are you waiting for? Go and prepare a mount for the Lord." One of the servants blew a whistle with all his might. Chirp! That moment, a large black eagle rushed into the sky from the backyard of the Wang family, swooped down, and landed next to the servant. This was a ferocious bird called Lightning Eagle. It understood human nature and was extremely fast. Its personality was also very docile. However, its size was not big, only enough for 3 or 4 people to ride. "In which direction is the royal city?" Qin Feiyang looked down at the 3 middle-aged men and asked. One of them hurriedly said, "Keep flying south. If there are no accidents on the way, we can reach it in half a month at most." "Let's go." Qin Feiyang jumped up and landed on the back of the Lightning Eagle. Wolf King also jumped up. And when Wolf King landed on the back of the Lightning Eagle, the Lightning Eagle's body clearly trembled. A trace of fear crept into its pupils. Qin Feiyang said with a faint smile, "Don't worry, it won't hurt you, let's go." Chirp! The Lightning Eagle spread its wings and soared into the sky, flying towards the south. And at the same time that the man and the wolf left, the 3 big men immediately got up, their eyes flashing with a shocking cold light. "Go destroy the Wang family. Take away everything useful." Following the 3 people's fierce roars, the servants they brought immediately rushed towards the Wang family. A bloody massacre quickly unfolded. "Damn, aren't these people too crazy?" Wolf King turned pale with astonishment. This is the law of survival in the land of ruins. If you want to live longer, you have to keep killing and plundering. Qin Feiyang said lightly. He would sympathize with mortals. But towards martial artists he always had an indifferent attitude. Because martial artists themselves were executioners. Whether good or evil, their hands were stained with the blood of others. The Lightning Eagle streaked across the sky and soon left Wohu City behind. Wolf King suddenly asked, "Little Qin Zi, Why do you think that woman came to the land of ruins? I don't know. Qin Feiyang shook his head. If she was being chased by an enemy, then the lion-head eagle should have fled into the land of ruins with its master. Therefore vendetta could be ruled out. The land of ruins environment was so harsh, it was impossible for her to be here for treasure. Besides vendetta and treasure hunting, what else could it be? Qin Feiyang took out the feather, looked at it for a moment and put it away. He sat on the lightning eagle's back and began to cultivate. He was more straightforward. If he couldn't figure it out, then he wouldn't waste energy thinking about it. Wolf King also lay on the side, silently cultivating. As they continued to go deeper into the land of ruins, the green mountains and clear waters were not so rare. And in the forest there were also some strange fierce beasts. Some of them were species that even Qin Feiyang had never seen before. It should be because of the environment here that gradually mutated. 10 days passed. Qin Feiyang's cultivation broke through again, and stepped into the 6-star martial artist realm. Coupled with the perfect martial skill, his current strength was enough to sweep through a 9-star martial ancestor. However, that was because the other party did not have any martial skills. I'm one step closer to the War King realm. He muttered to himself and calmed his excited heart. He lowered his head to look at the mountains and rivers below. Occasionally, there would be the roars of beasts coming from below. The ferocious aura it emitted was almost comparable to that of a martial ancestor. Qin Feiyang retracted his gaze and looked at Wolf King, who was lying on the side, and said, "If we go any deeper, we might encounter a War King realm fierce beast, so stay alert." Wolf King said, Relax, our luck won't be that good." Chirp. But just as he finished speaking, a giant falcon rushed out from the mountain stream below and headed straight for the lightning eagle. It was different from the usual falcons. The feathers all over its body looked as if they had been soaked in blood and were blood red. That pair of basin-sized eagle eyes were like 2 blood moons, extremely terrifying. The terrifying might could topple mountains and overturn the seas. The lightning eagle made a sharp turn and fled in fear. All of this happened too suddenly. One man and one wolf did not manage to stabilize themselves and directly fell from the lightning eagle's back. Fuck. Just like that, this heaven-defying luck, even Brother Wolf has nothing to say. Wolf King roared again and again. Very strong, it's a War King realm fierce beast. Qin Feiyang's face was solemn. Cut the crap, let's go to the castle. Wolf King shouted. Falling from such a high place, even if he was lucky enough not to be eaten by the falcon, he would still fall to his death. Qin Feiyang looked at the falcon, turned in the air, and chased after Wolf King with its head down and feet up. However, Wolf King's body was bigger than his, so his falling speed was naturally faster than his. In just a few blinks of an eye, the distance between them had increased by more than 10 meters. The wind whistled in his ears. If it wasn't for the fact that one man and one wolf could communicate telepathically, they wouldn't have known what the other party was talking about. Faster! Wolf King roared angrily. The falcon flew against the wind, and the distance between them was only 23 meters. If he didn't go to the castle now, he would definitely become a delicious meal for the falcon. Qin Feiyang's gaze was dark and fierce. Suddenly, he had an idea and pulled Fatso out of the castle. He held on to Fatso tightly. Fatso's weight, coupled with his weight, increased the speed of their fall. What the hell? Boss, you can't be like this. If you die, Fat Lord won't let you off even if you become a ghost. Fatso's face turned pale with fright. What kind of joke was this? That falcon was obviously not someone to be trifled with. In the blink of an eye, the distance between the falcon and Wolf King was only 10 meters. At this distance, Wolf King would be swallowed alive in the blink of an eye. But at this moment, Qin Feiyang finally caught up to Wolf King, grabbed its tail, and went to the castle without hesitation. Chirp! The prey that was about to reach its mouth disappeared into thin air. Chapter 245. Inside the castle, Fatso and Wolf King were lying on the ground, panting heavily. Their eyes were filled with fear. That was close. They almost fell into the falcon's mouth. Lu Hong covered her mouth and laughed. She teased Fatso, I didn't expect your fat body to be useful. What did you say? If you say that again, don't blame Fat Lord for spanking your little butt. The elasticity should be very good. As Fatso spoke, a wretched smile appeared on his face. Lu Hong's face immediately darkened and she kicked him without hesitation. Ouch! Fatso cramped in pain and jumped up. He rubbed his fists and said angrily, "Little girl, today I'll let you see Fat Lord's manly strength. Come at me if you have the guts." Lu Hong held her head high and puffed out her chest. Fatso's face twitched. Didn't this woman know how majestic and tempting her chest was? He swallowed his saliva and waved his hand. A good man doesn't fight with women. I won't argue with you. Boss, tell me, how are you going to compensate Fat Lord for his mental loss? He pointed his spear at Qin Feiyong again. Qin Feiyong rolled his eyes at him and carefully sensed the situation of the castle. About 50 breaths. He felt that the sinking castle suddenly stopped. He listened carefully for a while. Except for the falcon's shrill cry, he didn't hear any other movements, so he left the castle. What entered his sight was a dense forest. Qin Feiyong hurriedly glanced and hid in a bush. He took out the Chong Shui and carefully became vigilant. There were more than a dozen ferocious beasts nearby, crawling on the ground in fear. They were frightened by the falcon in the sky. The falcon struggled for a long time before it finally stopped and flew into a giant mountain more than 10,000 feet high. The ferocious beasts in the forest couldn't help but secretly breathe a sigh of relief. Qin Feiyong also breathed a sigh of relief. His eyes flickered as he looked at the giant peak. It was the first time he had seen such a falcon. It seemed that not only were humans reproducing a new civilization in the ruins, but even the dire beasts were also changing. Roar! When the two ferocious beasts discovered him, they immediately pounced on him. With the Chong Shui in his hand, Qin Feiyong swiftly dealt with them and ran towards the giant peak without looking back. Along the way, they encountered many ferocious beasts. However, they were all martial arts grandmasters. For Qin Feiyong, as long as it wasn't a combat king beast, no one would be able to stop him. Half an hour later, he arrived at the foot of the mountain and looked up at the peak. After a moment of hesitation, he climbed up the mountain. On the peak of the mountain, there was a vigorous ancient tree. The blood-red falcon was now entrenched under the ancient tree. Qin Feiyong hid behind a large rock and stuck his head out to look at the falcon. He was somewhat hesitant. Who? A moment later, he secretly exhaled a long breath and took a step out. Chirp! The falcon immediately looked at him fiercely. Qin Feiyong forced himself to remain calm, and said indifferently, "Don't be rash, I'm here to give you good fortune." The falcon stood up, a trace of doubt in its blood-red eyes. "If you're willing to send me to the King's City, I'll give you a beast spirit pill. If you don't know about the beast spirit pill, I can explain it to you. The beast spirit pill can unlock your intelligence, allowing you to communicate with anyone using telepathy," Qin Feiyong said with a smile. There were still 5 days of travel to the King's City, and who knew how many powerful ferocious beasts would block the way. So, he had to find a guy who could fly. And this falcon, not only was it strong, it was also fast. It was undoubtedly the best choice. Heard of it? The falcon's blood-red eyes emitted an aggressive light. Qin Feiyong's heart trembled and said indifferently, "Don't threaten me, just now in the sky, I was able to avoid your hunt, and now I can do the same." The falcon stared at Qin Feiyong. That sharp gaze caused Qin Feiyong to be unable to help but panic. Suddenly, the falcon nodded. Qin Feiyong was overjoyed and laughed. "Wait here, I'll go get it for you." Swish! In an instant. Then he disappeared and entered the ancient castle. He looked at the two and said, "Quick, quick, give me a beast spirit pill." After looting the royal treasury, they had obtained a lot of beast spirit pills. Therefore, there was no need to refine them. Fatso took out one and gave it to Qin Feiyong. Qin Feiyong walked out of the castle and threw the beast spirit pill to the falcon. The falcon opened its mouth and swallowed the beast spirit pill. Next, its eyes were filled with doubt. Qin Feiyong laughed. "Try talking to me." The falcon raised its head and looked at Qin Feiyong, as if it didn't know what to say. Who? After a long while, the 3 words that the falcon said intermittently echoed in Qin Feiyong's mind. The falcon was stunned and said excitedly, "Can I really talk?" I'm a very honest person. Qin Feiyong laughed. Humans are all treacherous people. The falcon looked at Qin Feiyong with hatred. This was hatred towards humans. Qin Feiyong laughed. There are good and bad beasts, and the same goes for humans. You can't kill everyone with one stroke. A hint of surprise appeared in the falcon's eyes as he asked, "What are you going to the Imperial City for?" Qin Feiyong said, "To find someone. As long as you send me to the Imperial City, you can leave at any time." Suddenly, he seemed to have thought of something and said, "May I ask, how long have you been here?" The falcon said, 30 or 40 years. That long? Qin Feiyong was surprised. With a wave of his hand, he condensed the image of the woman and asked, "Have you seen her?" This was the only way to go to the Imperial City. If the lion-headed eagle's owner had really gone to the Imperial City, then the falcon might have seen her. "It's her!" the falcon exclaimed. Qin Feiyong's mind shook and said, "Tell me, where did she go?" The situation back then was very similar to today's. I scared away her mount and wanted to eat her. But she was very strong. In front of her I was like an ant. The falcon said. Qin Feiyong had also heard this from the middle-aged man in Wuxia City. Qin Feiyong asked, "Why didn't she kill you?" The falcon said, "She said that for the sake of her former companions, she spared my life and even gave me a lot of qi-gathering pills. Because of these qi-gathering pills, I was able to break through to the War King realm." Qin Feiyong was a little surprised. He never thought that the falcon and that woman would have such a relationship. As for that former companion, there was no doubt that it was the lion-headed eagle. The falcon continued, "She even lived here for a period of time. Later on, it was also me who sent her to the Imperial City." Qin Feiyong was wild with joy. The falcon said, "Back then, she even left 4 words on this stone." 4 words. Qin Feiyong was startled. He looked at the stone beside the falcon and asked, "Can I take a look?" "No, all these years I have always treated her as my benefactor. And you, a human, are obviously not a good person. You definitely want to harm her." Not only did the falcon straightforwardly refuse, he even looked down on him without holding back. Qin Feiyong immediately flew into a rage out of humiliation, and shouted, "Which part of me looks like a bad person?" The falcon looked him up and down and said seriously, "Everywhere." Qin Feiyong was furious. "I'll endure it." He took out the feather and said, "This is the feather of the lion-headed eagle." The lion-headed eagle was her former companion. I was entrusted by the lion-headed eagle to come to the ruins to rescue her. "You're from the outside?" The falcon was bewildered. "Yes." Qin Feiyong nodded and said, "Your benefactor is also from the outside." The falcon lowered his head, his huge blood-red eyes flickering. After a long time, he looked up at Qin Feiyong and said, "I can let you see, and I can also take you to the Imperial City, but you have to promise me that you will take me out of the ruins with you." This, Qin Feiyong hesitated for a moment, and said with a bitter smile, "To be honest, even I am not confident that I can leave the ruins." The falcon said, "Whether or not you are confident, take me with you when you leave." "All right." Qin Feiyong nodded. The falcon retreated to the side. Qin Feiyong strode to the stone, and the 4 words immediately entered his sight. Every word was the size of a palm. There were traces of weathering, but he could still clearly see what was written. "A father's love is like a mountain." It was these 4 words. Qin Feiyong felt as if a bolt from the blue had struck him, and his head was rumbling. His hands were also clenched tightly. His face was almost distorted. His eyes were also filled with pain and hatred. In his heart, there was a burst of anger that was frantically brewing. The falcon was startled. He stared at Qin Feiyong suspiciously. He was fine before, why did he suddenly seem to have become a different person? Could these 4 words have something to do with him? Gradually, Qin Feiyong calmed down, and no longer looked at the 4 words. For that woman to leave such a sentence, it was enough to show that her coming to the ruins was definitely related to her father. The falcon glanced at the 4 words and asked, "Human young man, are you all right?" Qin Feiyong shook his head, and said with a faint smile, "There's no time to lose, let's go." "All right." The falcon responded and rushed into the sky with Qin Feiyong. turning into a bloody light and quickly disappearing into the horizon. Royal City. This ancient city was located in the center of the ruins. Its scale was almost comparable to Yen City, but the degree of prosperity was naturally much worse. Few days later, Qin Feiyang walked out of a jungle and looked at the royal city from afar. The falcon did not follow and hid deep in the mountains, because in the ruins beasts were equivalent to food. Any beast would be hunted down and killed once it entered the sight of humans. Qin Feiyang looked for a moment, and then walked towards the gate of the royal city. The city wall did not have any traces of dilapidation. It was like a black python lying on the ground, emitting a cold aura. On the way, everyone he met was in a hurry. It was as if in their eyes, other than himself, anyone else was superfluous. Many people were also wearing shabby linen clothes. Moreover, disputes, killing, and plundering could be seen everywhere. And those onlookers also had cold faces. This meant that life in the royal city was also very cruel. And here there were no rules. As long as your fist was big enough, what you said was the truth. Kid, stand there for me. Qin Feiyang came to the gate and was about to enter the city, but the two guards at the gate suddenly shouted at him. What's the matter? Chapter 246. Don't you know the rules? One of the guards frowned and said, Rules? Qin Feiyang was puzzled. He smiled and said, This is my first time in the capital. Please enlighten me. First time? No wonder you look like a hothead. Every time you enter the capital you have to pay a gold coin. The two guards looked at him with disdain in their eyes. 1. Qin Feiyang was stunned. This was the capital of the land of ruins. Wasn't it too cheap? If you don't have any gold coins, you can pay with body tempering pills. You should have some body tempering pills, right? Seeing that Qin Feiyang didn't take out any gold coins, the two guards thought that he was poor and couldn't take them out. Qin Feiyang's eyes flashed. He took out 3 gold coins and said with a smile, 2 big brothers, these are all my savings. I'll give them all to you. The extra 2 gold coins can be used to treat 2 big brothers to a drink. The two guards looked at each other and kept them without hesitation. Kid, you're quite sensible. If you encounter any difficulties in the capital in the future, let us know. We'll help you if we can. The two guards' attitudes changed completely. They patted their chests and laughed. Qin Feiyang laughed secretly. Just 2 gold coins were enough to make the two of them so happy. There was a cute side to this ruined land. Brothers, I do have a matter that I would like to ask you about. Do you know her? Qin Feiyang waved his hand and the woman's image quickly condensed. Sir Ren. The two guards looked up and their faces were filled with horror. The surrounding people also looked over. Their eyes filled with awe. Qin Feiyang was shocked. Was this woman in the capital now? And her status wasn't ordinary? How dare you blaspheme, Sir Ren? Surrender immediately and await your punishment. The two guards immediately turned hostile as they stared at Qin Feiyang with sinister eyes. Blaspheme? Qin Feiyang stared blankly and asked in confusion, Brothers, when did I ever profane her? You're blaspheming Her Excellency by condensing her image. Someone in the crowd shouted. Qin Feiyang was dumbfounded. Was this considered blasphemy? Just how shocking was this woman's status in the capital? However, in his heart he was rather excited. He originally thought that it would take a lot of time and effort to find this woman. He did not expect to find a clue as soon as he arrived in the capital. Qin Feiyang waved his hand, and the image disappeared with the wind. He cupped his hands and apologized. Everyone, I'm really sorry. I didn't mean it. Apologies are useless. Gouge out your eyes and we'll let bygones be bygones. Everyone stared at him fiercely. Qin Feiyang raised his eyebrows. He held back his fury, turned his head to look at those two guards, and said with a smile, Big brothers, to be honest, I have some ties with Lord Run. This time, little brother came to the capital in order to find Lord Run. You know Sir Ran. The two guards didn't believe him. The others didn't believe it either. It's true. Qin Feiyang said solemnly. Back then, Lord Run took pity on me and saved my life. I'm here to repay his kindness. It took him a lot of persuasion and effort to convince the two guards. All right. Since this is your first time and you're so sensible, We won't pursue your mistake. However, I'm afraid you won't have a chance to repay his kindness." The two guards' expressions eased a lot. "Why won't I have a chance?" Qin Feiyong frowned. Could it be that this woman had an accident? "Lord Ren has a noble status and won't meet a small fry like you. You'd better give up early." "Yes, she's the youngest war emperor in the capital. Even the family heads in the capital have to wait for a year or so to meet her," the two guards said. "War emperor?" Qin Feiyong was secretly shocked. He cupped his hands and smiled. "Even if I can't meet Lord Ren, I still want to walk around the capital and see the world." "Go ahead and walk around. Be honest, otherwise you might die on the streets." One of them waved his hand and said, "Thank you for your reminder, big brother." Qin Feiyong cupped his hands and said a few words. Then, he strode through the city gate and stepped onto the streets of the capital. "Bastard, how dare you block my way? Are you tired of living?" In front, a young man in his 20s blocked the path of a burly man. In the end, he was slapped to death by the burly man. "This is what I saw first. How dare you snatch it? Go to hell." Soon, in a shop not far away, a bloody corpse flew out and landed on the street. Killing was really everywhere. Qin Feiyong walked all the way. In less than an hour he met more than 10 people who were killed. Moreover, it was all because of some trivial matters. Everyone here seemed to be full of hostility. Qin Feiyong was already used to it. The path of cultivation was originally so cruel. Who could he blame? He only cared that he was too weak and his skills were inferior. After randomly finding a restaurant, Qin Feiyong found a waiter and asked around. Finally, he found out about the woman's situation. It turned out that the woman was called Ren Wuxia. Moreover, she was the personal disciple of the King of Ruins. The King of Ruins was the person who controlled the entire ruins. He was equivalent to the Emperor of the Ruins. Ren Wuxia was now living in the palace of the capital. After obtaining this information, Qin Feiyong did not delay and directly rushed to the palace. The palace was located in the center of the capital, covering an area of 1 mile. Although the palace was like an ancient castle, it was very majestic and imposing. In front of the palace gate, there were 2 rows of guards. There were 10 of them. Each of them was wearing black armor and holding a 7-feet-long halberd. Their eyes were as cold as ice and their bodies were filled with a murderous aura. "Stop! The palace is a restricted area. You are not allowed to trespass. Otherwise you will be killed without mercy." When Qin Feiyong arrived, the 2 guards shouted sternly. 2 halberds were placed in front of Qin Feiyong. The sharp blades emitted a piercing sharpness. Qin Feiyong cupped his hands and said, "Lords, I would like to see Lord Ren Wuxia. Is Lord Ren someone you can see? Scram back to where you came from. Don't pester endlessly here." The 2 of them shouted. Qin Feiyong frowned, took out the feather, and handed it to the 2 of them with both hands. "Please give this feather to Lord Ren. When she sees this feather, she will definitely meet me, however." Without waiting for Qin Feiyong to finish speaking, the guard on the left waved his halberd forcefully. The sharp blade instantly split the feather into 2. Qin Feiyong's face instantly darkened. The guard shouted, "If you don't scram, you will end up like this feather." Qin Feiyong grabbed the half feather, looked coldly at the guard, and then looked up at the palace gate. "You're courting death." Seeing this, the guard's murderous aura surged. He waved his halberd with all his might and chopped towards Qin Feiyong's waist. Clang! Qin Feiyong's eyes flashed coldly. He took out the Chong Shui at lightning speed and met the attack head-on. Sparks flew everywhere. The halberd was split into 2. So sharp! The 10 guards were dumbfounded and full of shock. Qin Feiyong said coldly, "Since entering the ruins I have been enduring. I advise you not to push your luck." "How dare you? How dare you behave so atrociously in front of the palace gate? You are really courting death." The guard whose halberd had been chopped in 2 exploded with a terrifying aura. His vital energy surged out like a tide. "Only a Wuzong? Then why are you still so arrogant?" Qin Feiyong raised his eyebrows and flew into a rage. He used the shifting smoke step and immediately turned into a shadow. Seeing his vital energy, Qin Feiyong judged the guard's strength. As long as he was not a warlord, He was not afraid. Slap. Almost in the next moment, the guard's face was slapped hard. He was even sent flying. His face was instantly swollen, and his teeth were shattered. Blood spurted out of his mouth. This speed. The remaining 9 guards were in disbelief. Only a martial ancestor is guarding the gates of the imperial palace. How pathetic is your wasteland? Qin Feiyong stood proudly, his face full of contempt. The 9 guards were furious. In an instant they exploded with a terrifying aura and a shocking murderous aura. Clang! They held black halberds in their hands and charged towards Qin Feiyong in unison. Humph! Qin Feiyong snorted. His lips curled into a mocking smile. He used the shifting smoke step to the extreme. The Chong Shui in his hand was invincible. Accompanied by the ear-piercing sound of metal, in less than 10 breaths, the halberds in the hands of the 9 guards were all scrapped. So powerful. The 9 guards were in disbelief, but in the next moment, their faces were full of greed. His true qi surged, bringing along a strong gust of wind from his palms as he attacked Qin Feiyong. As guards of the palace, they must have mastered martial arts techniques. But after a few exchanges, Qin Feiyong understood in his heart. These people were all 9-star Wuzong. Although they had killing martial arts techniques, they did not have auxiliary martial arts techniques. Although their strength was above Qin Feiyong, their speed was almost the same. With the same speed, Qin Feiyong could rely on his terrifying battle instincts to dodge the attacks in time. As long as the 9 guards did not have a physical collision with him, no matter how strong their strength was, it would be useless. Qin Feiyong was like a slippery loach, constantly dealing with the 9 guards. After dozens of breaths, no one could hit Qin Feiyong. The commotion here was getting louder and louder. The pedestrians not far away were gradually alarmed. They gathered on the street outside the palace gate and looked at the scene in disbelief. Where did this young man come from? How dare he come here to cause trouble? Looking at him, he seems to be 15 or 16 years old. 9 guards of the palace can't take him down. Isn't he too fierce? It's not his strength that's fierce, it's his speed and his battle instincts. Unless it's someone who's faster than him, or the Battle King himself, no Wuzong is his opponent. The people were discussing in shock. More and more people began to gather around. Suddenly, an exceptionally loud scream was heard. Chapter 247. Hundreds of breaths passed. The remaining 8 guards also followed in the footsteps of that person, and had an arm cut off. The wound was flat and blood was spurting out wildly. The crowd on the street was so shocked that their eyeballs almost popped out. Alone, he fought fiercely against the 9 great guards. In the end, the 9 guards were all seriously injured and fell to the ground, but this man was unscathed. His astonishing battle instincts left others in the dust. Qin Feiyong stabilized his figure with one step. His whole body was dripping with blood like a blood-soaked war god. The people present spontaneously felt a sense of fear in their hearts. Glancing at the 10 guards, Qin Feiyong stepped forward and walked toward the king of the palace. His whole person was calm and collected. This move immediately caused a commotion. He actually broke into the palace. One must know that the palace was a forbidden area in the land of ruins, sacred and inviolable. Without the permission of the king of ruins, no one could trespass. Throughout history, no one who dared to trespass into the palace had survived. Because this was an offense, blasphemy, and a challenge to the majesty of the king. If I were you, I would choose to kneel down and beg for mercy. At this moment, a burly man in black armor walked out of the palace gate with a majestic gait. His eyes were incomparably cold. It's Commander Rong. He's a genuine battle king. This man has angered him. Today he will definitely die. The crowd looked at the burly man in black armor in fear. Commander Rong. Qin Feiyong stopped and heard the discussion behind him. He looked at the burly man in black armor and said lightly, "It's a pity that I'm not you. You're very bold. Among the young people I've ever seen, you're the first." Commander Rong's eyes surged with cold light. "Thank you for the compliment." Qin Feiyong looked very honored. Commander Rong was not angry. The corners of his mouth lifted slightly. "Once you enter the palace, You won't be able to walk out alive. Follow me if you have the guts. After saying that, Commander Rong turned and walked into the palace gate. This dragon's pool and tiger's den, I really want to go in and see. Qin Feiyang followed in without hesitation. You really dare to come in? Commander Rong turned around and looked at him in shock. At worst, I'll just die. What's there to be afraid of? Qin Feiyang faintly smiled. He glanced around and shook his head. I've seen many palaces, but this is the first time I've seen one as unsightly as this. I hope you can continue to be arrogant. Commander Rong sneered and turned to walk towards a palace. When he walked in, he saw the words Grand Commander engraved at the top of the hall. The doors of the palace were tightly shut. There was no one guarding it either. This proved that the commander was very confident in his strength. Commander Rong stood in front of the door and bowed as he said, Commander, this subordinate requests an audience. Clang! The door opened. It was a little dark inside. The decorations were nothing compared to the exterior. However, in the ruins where resources were scarce, it could definitely be considered luxurious. A middle-aged man sat in front of him. He wore a long black robe and had thick eyebrows and big eyes. He looked dignified without being angry. Commander Rong walked into the main hall. Qin Feiyang followed in and looked around curiously. Commander Rong walked to the front of the Grand Commander and bowed. Grand Commander, this person trespassed the palace and injured our guards. Please punish him. The Grand Commander glanced at Qin Feiyang. Seeing that Qin Feiyang was only looking around and did not bow to him, he was immediately displeased. Just kill such a person. Why did you bring him here? Do you think I have nothing better to do? The Grand Commander shouted as a cold light flashed in his eyes. Commander Rong hurriedly said, There's a reason for this. Please calm down, Grand Commander. Speak. The Grand Commander was clearly impatient. This person has a dagger that can easily break the guards' halberds. Furthermore, not only does he have killing martial techniques, but he also has auxiliary martial techniques. According to my observations, they are all perfect martial techniques. He also has the cultivation of a 6-star martial ancestor. Therefore, I conclude that he has just arrived at the ruins, Commander Rong said respectfully. The Grand Commander was shocked. He looked at Qin Feiyang again and shouted, Answer me. What is your name? How old are you now? What is your purpose of coming to the ruins? Qin Feiyang just turned 16. As for my purpose of coming to the ruins, it has nothing to do with you. Qin Feiyang said lightly. A 16-year-old 6-star martial ancestor. The Grand Commander's body trembled and his eyes shone brightly. He said, Your identity outside must not be simple. Qin Feiyang said, It's all right. I don't want to talk nonsense with you. I want to see Ren Wushuang. You're here for Ren Wushuang? The Grand Commander frowned and said, Give me the dagger and your martial techniques. I will let you see Ren Wushuang. Do you think that's possible? Qin Feiyang finally looked at the Grand Commander and smiled mockingly. Humph! I don't care what your identity is outside. As long as you come to the ruins, you have to be obedient. Otherwise, no matter how talented you are, there will be no place for you. The Grand Commander snorted coldly. Qin Feiyang shrugged and said, I don't plan to stay here forever. Why would I need a place to stay? Haha, the Grand Commander and Commander Rong laughed as if they had heard the funniest joke in the world. Their laughter was full of disdain and sarcasm. Commander Rong said, Kid, you're not thinking of leaving the ruins, are you? Why? Can't I? Qin Feiyang said, Yes, of course you can. Unfortunately, you're just daydreaming. The ruins are surrounded by a black abyss. Once you enter, you will never be able to get out. You should accept reality and give up. The two commanders sneered. Everyone who entered the land of ruins wanted to leave, including them. But what happened in the end? They either died in the black abyss or were crushed into pieces by the gravity. Not a single one of them succeeded. Moreover, the King of Ruins would not allow anyone to leave the ruins. This was an iron law that no one could disobey. Qin Feiyang glanced at the two indifferently. He was too lazy to talk nonsense with them. He turned around and ran out of the hall. Boom! Seeing this, the Grand Commander was furious. A terrifying aura erupted like a volcano. He got up, took a step and landed outside the hall. Qin Feiyong had already jumped onto the roof at this time. Standing at the highest point of the roof, he grinned at the Grand Commander and said, "Don't worry, I won't run away." "What are you going to do?" The Grand Commander frowned with a puzzled look. "Run up to see the scenery?" Qin Feiyong cleared his throat and shouted, "Ren Wuxuang, Lion-Headed Eagle asked me to find you. Come out." The Grand Commander's face suddenly sank. Swish! With a flash he landed beside Qin Feiyong. His big hand was like an eagle's claw, grabbing at Qin Feiyong's arm. As long as he could take down this boy first, the dagger would be his. Even Ren Wuxuang would not be able to take it away. He was about to succeed. However, the boy in front of him suddenly disappeared without a trace. The Grand Commander's expression stiffened. He hurriedly scanned the surroundings, his eyes full of surprise. Commander Rong below was even more surprised. Disappeared in an instant. There was no sign at all. How did this boy do it? Was this the reason he dared to break into the palace? Whoosh! In a palace not far away, a snow-white figure flew into the air. She was tall, her skin was as white as snow, and her small waist was slim. Her chest rose and fell with her breathing. It could be described as magnificent. Her limpid eyes were filled with a bright luster, and there was a trace of natural charm that tugged at one's heartstrings. This was a woman who was indescribably beautiful. Her appearance even added a bit of color to this dark and gloomy world. That's right. She was the master of the Lion-Head Eagle, Ren Wuxuang. Whoosh! Her long dress fluttered as she landed opposite the Grand Commander. Her beautiful eyebrows furrowed slightly as she asked, "Where is the person who called me just now?" The Grand Commander said coldly, "He trespassed into the palace and has been killed by me." Ren Wuxuang's eyes turned cold. It was as if the place had suddenly turned into a world of ice and snow. Not to mention Commander Rong, even the Grand Commander, who was also a war emperor, could not help but feel a chill in his heart at this moment. Whoosh! But at this moment, Qin Feiyong appeared out of thin air and grinned. "Grand Commander, you don't have the ability to kill me yet?" "You?" The Grand Commander was dumbfounded. Why did he appear out of thin air again? He originally thought that Qin Feiyong had already left. But he did not expect that not only was he still there, but he also heard his words. His lie was exposed by Qin Feiyong, and he was a little angry out of embarrassment. Qin Feiyong hurriedly distanced himself from him and looked up at Ren Wuxuang. A trace of amazement flashed across his eyes. The shadow condensed by the lion-headed eagle was already beautiful enough, but the real person was even more beautiful. Sure enough, the person lived up to his name. Whether it was talent or appearance, they were both peerless. Ren Wuxuang sized up Qin Feiyong for a moment and asked, "Are you looking for me?" Her throat was clear and elegant, like the sound of nature. Qin Feiyong took out the severed feather. As soon as the feather appeared, it emitted a faint brilliance. "It really is her," Qin Feiyong muttered. Ren Wuxuang stretched out her jade-like hand, and the feather flew over and landed in her palm. Looking at the feather in her palm, her eyes gradually became a little sad. She asked, "Is it okay now?" Qin Feiyong smiled faintly and said, "It's living quite well, and its strength is also stronger than yours. It's all expected." Ren Wuxuang whispered. The essence qi in the ruins was thin and resources were scarce. She was already very lucky to be able to break through to the war emperor. Suddenly, she put away the feather, looked at the Grand Commander and said coldly, "This child is my old acquaintance. If you dare to hurt him, I will destroy you." Finished. Without waiting for the Grand Commander's response, he brought Qin Feiyong and flew towards the palace not far away. "Aren't you just relying on the fact that you're the king's disciple? What are you so proud of?" The Grand Commander coldly snorted and jumped down from the roof. He whispered to Commander Rong, but no one knew what he was mumbling about. Qin Feiyong laughed. "That Grand Commander seems to be on bad terms with you? This person is very jealous. Seeing that I am in the palace and am treated better than him, he is very unconvinced. His methods are also very despicable. You have to be careful." Ren Wuxuang laughed, and brought Qin Feiyong directly into the palace. Chapter 248. Inside the palace. In front of a tea table. Ren Wuxia made tea and said with a smile, "You must have suffered a lot along the way." Qin Feiyong sat opposite her and shook his head with a smile. "It's others who have suffered, but the people and things I saw along the way are really sad." Ren Wuxia pushed a teacup in front of Qin Feiyong and sighed. "This is the land of ruins. You will slowly get used to it." Qin Feiyong picked up the teacup and tasted it a little. He frowned and said, "It tastes so bad?" The tea was very bitter. It was as if he was eating Chinese gold thread. Ren Wuxia shook her head and laughed. "Your reaction now is exactly the same as my reaction back then. But this is already the best tea in the land of ruins. Just make do with it." Qin Feiyong put down the teacup and asked, "Are you going to stay here for the rest of your life? What else can I do? In fact, I also want to leave, but I have tried many ways, but I can't pass the black abyss." There was a trace of helplessness on Ren Wuxia's face. Qin Feiyong was silent for a while, and then said, "Have you found your father?" Ren Wuxia frowned. Qin Feiyong said, "I saw the 4 words you left in the falcon's nest." Ren Wuxia suddenly understood and shook her head. "I didn't find him." "Haven't you been here for more than 20 years? Qin Feiyong was surprised. "All these years I have never given up looking for him. However, I have searched all the places in the land of ruins that can be found, but I still found nothing." On Ren Wuxia's face, there was an unresolvable sadness. Qin Feiyong said, "Have you ever thought that he is dead somewhere?" Ren Wuxia nodded. "I've thought about it, but I won't give up until I see the skeleton." Qin Feiyong looked at her with a complicated expression and sighed. "In order to find him, you went through so much trouble to come here and put yourself in such a desperate situation. I want to ask you, is it worth it?" "Worth it?" Ren Wuxia nodded without hesitation. "Is it really worth it?" Qin Feiyong asked again. However, he was not asking Ren Wuxia. He was asking his own heart. Ren Wuxia noticed the change in his mood, and a trace of surprise flashed through his eyes. She picked up the teacup, took a sip and said with a smile, "There are some things that will only make you feel worse if you keep it in your heart. It's better to find someone you trust to confide in." Qin Feiyong stared blankly for a moment before he quickly regained his senses. He smiled faintly and said, "How should I address you? Senior? Or master?" Ren Wuxia sighed. "Just call me sister. In the future, in the land of ruins, I will give you the best cultivation environment and resources. After all, it is because of me that you came here." Qin Feiyong grinned. Ren Wuxia was not only beautiful, but also powerful. The most important thing was that she did not put on airs. This sister was worth having. However, he did not plan to stay in the land of ruins forever. Xuan was still waiting for him to solve the problem. "Sister, I want to ask you a question." Qin Feiyong called out her name smoothly, without the slightest sense of unfamiliarity. "Ask away," Ren Wuxia said with a smile. Qin Feiyong said, "If I can leave the land of ruins." Before he could finish, Ren Wuxia shook her head and said, "It's impossible. Don't waste your energy and time. Just stay here." "Can you let me finish?" Qin Feiyong smiled bitterly and said, "I'm just saying if you can leave." "If you can leave, are you willing to give up looking for your father and leave with me?" Ren Wuxia pondered for a moment and sighed. "After so many years of searching, I still can't find him. If I can really leave, I will choose to leave." Qin Feiyong got up and said, "That's enough. Let's go." "Go?" Ren Wuxia was stunned and said in surprise, "Do you really have a way to leave the land of ruins?" "No." Qin Feiyong shook his head and said with a faint smile, "When the boat reaches the bridge, it will cross the bridge. Let's go to the Iron Chain Bridge first, and then slowly think of a way." Ren Wuxia was a little annoyed. He did not have the slightest confidence and rashly took the risk. Wasn't this nonsense? "I still have a lot of unfulfilled wishes. I don't want to be trapped in this place for the rest of my life. Even if I die on the Iron Chain Bridge, I still want to try it." Qin Feiyong's eyes were very determined. "This?" Ren Wuxia hesitated. "My dear sister, don't think about it. Let's go. You don't want to live like this for the rest of your life." Qin Feiyong urged. Okay, I will go with you and let you completely give up. Ren Wuxuang got up, his face full of helplessness. In my dictionary, there is no such word as give up. Qin Feiyong was full of confidence. Ren Wuxuang shook his head and laughed. With a wave of his hand he rolled up Qin Feiyong and turned into a stream of light, flying outside. Everyone who had just entered the land of ruins would be like Qin Feiyong, full of enthusiasm and confidence. But the result was no exception. All of them were buried in the black abyss. Those who survived were only left with despair. As soon as they flew out, before they could leave the palace, the Grand Commander flew up to the sky in front of them and said indifferently, "The two of you, where are you going? It has something to do with you?" Ren Wuxuang's face immediately turned cold. The Grand Commander said, "If you want to leave the land of ruins, it must have something to do with me. After all, I am the Grand Commander of the land of ruins and I have to maintain order here." Qin Feiyong said coldly, "Sister just wants to take me for a stroll nearby. Why do you care?" "Sister?" The Grand Commander was stunned and said playfully, "Ren Wuxuang, didn't you say that he is an old friend of yours? How did he become your brother?" Ren Wuxuang said indifferently, "If you have the time to care about my business, why don't you go and train those useless people?" Qin Feiyong said, "Yes, a total of 10 guards can't even stop a small 6-star martial ancestor like me. I really don't know how you became the Grand Commander." The Grand Commander's face darkened. "Not convinced? What kind of talent can you teach with your character? Why don't you just give me the position of Grand Commander? I promise I will do better than you." Qin Feiyong pursed his lips and said disdainfully. Boom! A terrifying aura burst out with a roar. The Grand Commander's gloomy eyes seemed to want to pull out Qin Feiyong's tendons and skin him alive. "Don't pretend to be powerful in front of me." Ren Wuxuang looked at him indifferently and left with Qin Feiyong. "Bitch." The Grand Commander stared at the two of them coldly. Shua! He turned into a stream of light and followed behind Qin Feiyong and Qin Yu. "Sister, what should we do?" Qin Feiyong frowned. Ren Wuxuang said, "Don't worry. He is the Grand Commander of the guards and is busy with work. He can't always follow you." Qin Feiyong nodded and said with a smile, "I will take you to see an old friend first." Ren Wuxuang was puzzled. Qin Feiyong pointed to the mountains ahead and said with a smile, "Fly over there." A moment later, they stopped above a gigantic peak. Screech! The blood-colored falcon flapped its wings and flew in front of the two of them with a gust of wind. The falcon looked at Ren Wuxuang and said excitedly, "Sir, I finally meet you again." Ren Wuxuang was surprised. Qin Feiyong said, "It was the one who brought me to the capital." "Oh." Ren Wuxuang nodded and reached out with his jade-like arm to stroke the falcon's head and said with a smile, "Long time no see, Xueying. You still remember me?" Xueying was flattered. Ren Wuxuang smiled and waved his hand. "Go back. This place is not suitable for you to live." Xueying's pupils constricted and he looked at Qin Feiyong for help. Qin Feiyong glanced at the commander behind and said in a low voice, "Sister, I promised him that I would take him away from the ruins." Ren Wuxuang frowned. "You are not even sure, so you promised others first. This is a very irresponsible attitude, do you know?" Qin Feiyong smiled bitterly. This woman really scolded him as if he was her younger brother. "Fine, you can take us for a stroll around." Ren Wuxuang grabbed Qin Feiyong and landed on the back of Xueying. Screech! Xueying let out a high-pitched screech, spread its blood-colored wings and flew away. Ren Wuxuang also tirelessly introduced everything about the ruins to Qin Feiyong. Time flew by. Half a day passed. The commander at the back frowned. Was it really just a simple stroll? He pondered for a moment. His eyes flashed and he turned and left quickly. Qin Feiyong said, "Sister, he's gone." Ren Wuxuang smiled and said, "Don't worry. I know this person's character best. He won't leave so easily. He must be hiding in the dark to watch us." Qin Feiyong intentionally or unintentionally glanced below, but did not see the commander. However, since Ren Wuxuang said so, there must be such a thing. Until evening, the commander flew out from the dense forest below and disappeared into the night sky like lightning. "This person is quite patient." Qin Feiyong laughed. We can go to the Iron Chain Bridge now, but little brother, you have to promise me in advance that if you are not completely sure, don't take risks. Ren Wuxiang said with a serious expression. Qin Feiyang nodded. After a night of rushing, the next morning, the 2 men and 1 beast finally arrived in front of the Iron Chain Bridge. The blood left by the black-clothed old man had disappeared. The black hurricane howled, as if it was formed by sharp blades, causing people to be intimidated by it. Qin Feiyang glanced at the black abyss, and then looked at the sky, and said in a deep voice, "To leave, first of all, we have to figure out the source of gravity. Sister, have you checked it?" "Yes, I have." Ren Wuxiang nodded and said, "It's a pity that I haven't found any results." Qin Feiyang frowned, pondered for a moment and said, "There is no gravity when we enter the ruins, but there is gravity when we go out. Why do I feel like someone is secretly controlling it?" "Control?" Ren Wuxiang's eyes trembled. "Sister, have you thought of anything?" Qin Feiyang asked. Ren Wuxiang said, "No, I'm just thinking that if there is someone secretly controlling it, then this person's strength must have reached the peak. I'm just guessing, don't take it seriously." Qin Feiyang smiled and took out Chang Shui from his Qiankuan bag. "Hey!" Ren Wuxiang's eyes suddenly fell on Chang Shui, and he said in surprise, "This dagger is not simple, where did you get it?" "Sister, you have a good eye." Chapter 249. Seeing this, Ren Wuxiang's face changed dramatically. She dragged Qin Feiyang back and said angrily, "What are you doing? Do you want to die?" Qin Feiyang said, "Chang Shui was left to me by my mother. It's very mysterious. I have a hunch that it can help me." Ren Wuxiang said, "Since it's left to you by your mother, you should cherish it more. If it's shattered by gravity, how will you face your mother in the future?" Qin Feiyang hesitated for a moment, put away Chang Shui, and stretched out his arm again. With a thought, the ancient castle suddenly rushed out from between his eyebrows and floated above his palm. Another ancient mysterious treasure? Ren Wuxiang was surprised. It was not until now that she realized that her new brother seemed to have a very extraordinary background. Swish! Qin Feiyang took out Wolf King, Fatso, and Lu Hong. Ren Wuxiang and Blood Eagle were both surprised. Qin Feiyang said with a smile, "Sister, I haven't told you yet. This ancient castle is a treasure that can hide." Ren Wuxiang said in surprise, "In other words, it's a space treasure?" Qin Feiyang nodded. "So beautiful." As soon as Fatso saw Ren Wuxiang, he immediately became infatuated. How could there be such a beautiful woman in the world? Even Lu Hong was a little stunned. Hey, you're drooling on the ground." Wolf King rolled his eyes. What a good-for-nothing. Wasn't it just a woman? Was there a need to be so exaggerated? Fatso murmured, "If I die under a peony, I'll be a romantic ghost." Fat Lord finally understood the true meaning of this sentence today. Qin Feiyang's veins on his forehead bulged. He knocked Fatso's head hard and shouted, "Call me Lord." "Sir?" Fatso was stunned for a moment before he said angrily, "Why is it that you can call her sister, but Fat Lord has to call her master?" Fat Lord protested. "This is unfair." Qin Feiyang chuckled and said, "You want fairness, right? White-eyed wolf, show him what fairness is." Fatso hurriedly hid behind Ren Wuxiang. "Sister Wuxiang, from now on you are my real sister. You must protect your little brother. Look at my body, it was bullied by boss and brother wolf. I'm so pitiful. No one cares for me, no one loves me." He looked aggrieved and wanted to take advantage of her. Ren Wuxiang smiled and said, "It's not a problem to protect you, but if you don't behave, I will chop off your perverted hands." Fatso felt a chill run down his spine. He quickly retracted his hands and laughed awkwardly. Fatso, I'll help you lose weight, so that you won't say that I and little Qinzi bullied you." Wolf King walked towards Fatso with bad intentions. "Losing weight is a small matter. I don't need your help, Brother Wolf." Fatso hurriedly retreated. "Losing weight is not a small matter. I must help you." Wolf King smiled slyly. Fatso couldn't help but feel his scalp tingle. He hurriedly ran away. "Bastard, why are you running? How dare you say that I and little Qinzi bullied you? You must be tired of living." Today, I'm going to bully you for once. Wolf King was not willing to give up. He chased after him and beat him up. Fatso's wails resounded through the sky. Ren Wuxiang was full of smiles. He hadn't seen such a warm scene in a long time. Lu Hong glanced at the ancient castle and frowned. The alchemy scripture and the 6-word formula are in the ancient castle. Isn't it too risky for you to do this? I have to try. Do you want to stay here for the rest of your life? Qin Feiyang said. I don't want to, but Lu Hong shook her head. She wanted to persuade him again. Qin Feiyang smiled. Don't worry. The ancient castle is mysterious. Even an 8-star combat emperor can't do anything about it. It will definitely be able to withstand the gravity. No, it's better to use those ribs than risk the ancient castle. Anyway, it doesn't matter if the ribs are broken. Lu Hong persisted in her objection. Yes, we can try using the ribs. Why didn't I think of that? Qin Feiyang couldn't wait to run up and kiss Lu Hong's face. He hurriedly put away the ancient castle and took out a rib. This human bone. Ren Wuxiang's eyes widened. They were filled with disbelief. With her eyesight, she could tell that this rib was extraordinary at a glance. Sister, I'll explain it to you slowly after we escape. Qin Feiyang smiled. Let me do it. My cultivation is stronger than yours. If there's an accident, I can deal with it in time. Ren Wuxiang took the rib from Qin Feiyang's hands overbearingly and asked Qin Feiyang and the others to retreat far away. Lu Hong chuckled. You've got a good sister. Qin Feiyang nodded. Although he had only met Ren Wuxiang yesterday, he could clearly feel her concern for him. They retreated more than 10 meters away and looked at Ren Wuxiang nervously. Ren Wuxiang looked at the rib and then at the iron chain bridge. She took a deep breath and grabbed one end of the rib and moved closer to the iron chain bridge. Boom! That moment, a terrifying gravitational force pressed down. Ren Wuxiang's delicate body trembled. Her entire arm was suddenly torn open. She also lost her balance and fell into the abyss. Sister! Qin Feiyang's expression changed and hurriedly ran up. But at this moment, all of a sudden the rib bone blossomed with dazzling light. The gravitational force disappeared in an instant. Qin Feiyang grabbed Ren Wuxiang's wrist and pulled her back. I'm fine. Ren Wuxiang waved her hand at Qin Feiyang and looked at the rib in surprise. The rib was suspended above the iron chain bridge. It was shining brightly like a full moon, emitting an amazing aura. It was like a demonic ancestor had appeared in the world, intimidating this black abyss that made people tremble in fear upon hearing its name. Qin Feiyang and Lu Hong also looked at this scene in disbelief. Wolf King and Fatso also ran over, their faces full of shock. They all knew that the owner of the rib was very powerful when he was alive, but they didn't expect him to be so heaven-defying. Qin Feiyang tentatively stretched out his hand and was pleasantly surprised to find that the place covered by the light did not feel the slightest bit of gravity. He smiled and said, Sister, I didn't let you down. Ren Wuxiang fell silent. Qin Feiyang waved his hand and put Wolf King, Fatso, and Lu Hong into the castle. As for the blood eagle, its body was too big to fit in the castle. Qin Feiyang looked at the rib and looked at Ren Wuxiang with a smile. If you don't want to leave, I'll come to pick you up after we find your father, or I'll leave a rib for you. Ren Wuxiang turned around and scanned the dark land in front of her. There was a hint of sadness in her eyes. Let's go. A moment later, she resolutely turned around and stepped onto the iron chain bridge with Qin Feiyang and the blood eagle. Clatter! The iron chain trembled and made a loud ear-piercing sound. Ren Wuxiang grabbed the rib and walked as if it was flat ground. The ruins gradually disappeared behind them. Feiyang, where did you get this human bone? Ren Wuxiang curiously asked. The desert of death. Qin Feiyang did not hide anything and briefly explained the situation at that time. Ren Wuxiang said, I didn't expect there to be such a place in the county of Yan. When I have time, I must go and have a look. Boom! Woo-woo! Before he finished speaking, a black storm rushed out from the abyss below and swept towards Qin Feiyang and the others. How could this be? Ren Wuxiang was surprised. However, although the black storm was terrifying, it could not break through the defense of the rib. The white light was like an iron wall, protecting Qin Feiyang and the others. Qin Feiyang glanced down and said in a deep voice, It seems that as I guessed, Someone is controlling these storms and gravity and doesn't want us to leave. Ren Wuxiang shouted, "Who is it? Please come out and meet me." His voice was transmitted into the abyss and echoed. But after waiting for a long time there was no response. The Blood Eagle urged, "Sir, don't worry about whether someone is controlling it or not. Let's go quickly." Qin Feiyang nodded. The dark sky, the whistling hurricane, and the trembling iron chain formed a very strange atmosphere that made people unable to help but feel scared. Ren Wuxiang withdrew his gaze and quickly took them to the other side. However, they did not notice. In the black hurricane in the distance, a tall figure was faintly discernible. Like a ghost, he was watching them leave. On the other side of the iron chain bridge, the lion-headed eagle turned into the size of a palm and squatted on a big tree, looking at the ruins on the other side. "It's been more than a month. I wonder if that human brat has found Master," it whispered to itself. There was some apprehension in its eyes, some anticipation and more despair. Although it let Qin Feiyang enter the ruins, it was not very confident in Qin Feiyang. Suddenly, it noticed that a white light appeared on the iron chain bridge. How can there be light? It rose into the air and stared at the white light. Gradually, its eyes were filled with ecstasy. It saw Qin Feiyang, a strange blood eagle, and a woman. That woman's face could not be more familiar, even unforgettable. "It's Master. It's really Master. She's back." The lion-headed eagle was ecstatic. It flew to the front of the iron chain bridge and stared at the approaching Ren Wuxiang. Tears flowed from the corners of its eyes. Qin Feiyang said with a smile, "Sister, look, the lion-headed eagle is waiting for you." Ren Wuxiang's beautiful eyes were also filled with mist, blurring her vision. Dozens of breaths passed. Qin Feiyang, Ren Wuxiang, and the blood eagle landed steadily on the solid ground. "Master!" The lion-headed eagle immediately spread its wings and flew into Ren Wuxiang's arms. "Little guy, it's been hard on you all these years." Ren Wuxiang was a little sobbing as she stroked the lion-headed eagle's head. No. As long as I can save Master, it's worth it." The lion-headed eagle shook its head. It had a deep dependence on Ren Wuxiang. At the same time, the blood eagle also howled excitedly. "This is sunlight. This is the air outside. This is the outside world. It's out, it's finally out." It spread its huge wings and flew happily in the sky, enjoying the warmth brought to it by the sunlight. It was not blamed, because it had lived for so long, but it was the first time it saw sunlight. Qin Feiyang smiled and turned to look at the ruins. He seemed to have made a decision in his heart, and there was a touch of determination in his eyes. Ren Wuxiang glanced at Qin Feiyang and also raised his head to look. He sighed. "It's not an easy task to liberate the ruins." Qin Feiyang nodded. It was indeed unrealistic to rescue all the people in the ruins. Taking a step back, even if they could be rescued, the people of the 18 counties would not accept them. "If they can't be rescued, then one day I will personally bury the ruins," Qin Feiyang said. Chapter 250. To think that he would make such a shocking oath. Ren Wuxiang was becoming more and more interested in Qin Feiyang. Actually, Qin Feiyang was not as complicated as Ren Wuxiang. There was only one reason for him to do so. If the emperor didn't care, he would. Qin Feiyang looked at the lion-headed eagle and laughed. "Senior Beast Emperor, the person has been rescued. It's time for you to fulfill your promise." "What promise?" Ren Wuxiang was puzzled. Lion-headed eagle said, "This human brat asked me to help destroy Yan County." "What?" Ren Wuxiang stared at him and said angrily, "Feiyang, are you crazy? Do you know that you are courting death by doing this?" Qin Feiyang's face was full of ridicule and said, "Sis, you misunderstood. I was just saying that to test the Beast Emperor's sincerity. I didn't expect him to really take it seriously." Ren Wuxiang heaved a sigh of relief. "Sis?" Lion-headed eagle was a little stunned. Ren Wuxiang laughed. "I have already recognized him as my little brother. You have to help him more in the future." "Little brother?" Lion-headed eagle looked at Qin Feiyang strangely, and only after a long time did he say a few words, and said disdainfully, "You really know how to climb up the social ladder." Qin Feiyang was a little helpless. It was clearly Ren Wuxuang who took the initiative to recognize him as his little brother, but now he said that he was climbing up the social ladder? Lion-headed eagle said again. Since you are master's little brother, then from now on you can call me brother. Brother. Qin Feiyong's face twitched. Eagle, don't mess around. Ren Wuxuang stared at lion-headed eagle and laughed. Feiyong, from now on you can call him eagle like me. With a new lover, you've forgotten your old one. Lion-headed eagle immediately sighed. Qin Feiyong couldn't help but laugh. He didn't expect this savage fellow to have such a cute side. Ren Wuxuang asked Feiyong, who are you going to deal with? Qin Feiyong's face turned solemn as a cold glint flashed in his eyes. He nodded and said, I want to eradicate the Blood Slaughter Palace. Blood Slaughter Palace? Ren Wuxuang frowned and asked doubtfully, why haven't I heard of this force before? The Blood Slaughter Palace only appeared in the last 1 or 2 years. The palace lord of the Blood Slaughter Palace is called Zhuan. He has committed a heinous crime by refining the blood demon pill. He even killed my friend. Qin Feiyong said gloomily. Blood demon pill. Ren Wuxuang's beautiful eyes also flickered with strands of shocking killing intent. Lionhead Eagle asked, is he strong? 8-star combat emperor. Qin Feiyong said. Lionhead Eagle said, this is a difficult person to deal with. Why don't we just call the people from the state capital over? If you can call the people from the state capital, I have already told Wang Hong the last time he came. Qin Feiyong shook his head and said, to be honest, a few big shots in the county of Yan deliberately hid this from the state capital. Wang Hong. Ren Wuxuang was stunned and asked, is he wearing an eye mask? How do you know? Qin Feiyong was surprised. Ren Wuxuang smiled and said, I have seen him before. He is one of the commanders in the state capital. He is very strong and I have received many favors from him in the past. Qin Feiyong was enlightened. Ren Wuxuang pondered for a moment and said with a smile, we need to think about how to get rid of Zhuan. Let's go to the county of Yan first. You can tell me the details on the way. Lionhead Eagle said, Master, let's go to the Swallowpan Mountain Range first. I want to gather the troops and cheer for this kid. Qin Feiyong was delighted. Lionhead Eagle opened the portal. Blood Eagle saw it and hurriedly swooped down and asked, wait, what about me? Ren Wuxuang smiled and said, you are free. You can decide where to go next. Blood Eagle hesitated and said, Master, I want to follow you. Please take me in. Although the land of ruins was cruel, the outside world was not that bad. If it wanted to live longer, it needed a strong backer. No. Lionhead Eagle refused. What a joke. If Blood Eagle followed him, its status would be affected. Ren Wuxuang smiled and said, sure. Thank you, Master. Blood Eagle was overjoyed and said respectfully, Master, you can't forget your old love when you have a new one. Back then I was the one who went through fire and water with you. Lionhead Eagle was anxious. It seriously felt that its status was being threatened. Qin Feiyong teased, Eagle, I didn't expect you to be jealous. But Blood Eagle's character is not bad. It won't be a threat to you. Get lost. In any case, we are old friends. It's fine if you don't help me, but you are actually helping him. What do you mean? Lionhead Eagle said angrily. Old friends? Qin Feiyong rolled his eyes. If it wasn't for this guy forcing him, he wouldn't have entered the land of ruins. In terms of friendship, there was no friendship. He had a stomach full of resentment. Why not? Okay, stop it. Ren Wuxuang glared at the lion-headed eagle. He took out a Qingkuan bag from his bosom and took out a bright medicinal pill. He handed it to the Blood Eagle and said, this is the transformation pill. Take it. Blood Eagle was puzzled. What is a transformation pill? It can change its size freely. You don't even know this. What a country bumpkin. Lionhead Eagle despised. Blood Eagle's eyes lit up. It hurriedly grabbed it and swallowed it. Qin Feiyong asked, Sister, do you have any more transformation pills? Ren Wuxuang said, no, transformation pills are very precious. I only bought 2 back then. Qin Feiyong was a little disappointed. Originally, he wanted to ask for one for Wolf King. Now it seemed that he could only wait for him to personally refine it in the future. Without further ado, The 2 men and 2 eagles entered the teleportation gate one after another and descended in the sky above the central area of the Swallow Pan mountain range. Lionhead Eagle let out a shrill cry, and 15 War Emperor realm beasts immediately rushed over from all directions. Did you see that? They are all this Emperor's underlings. In the future you better behave yourselves. Otherwise this Emperor will let them tear you apart. Lionhead Eagle looked at Blood Eagle proudly. Blood Eagle nodded his head repeatedly, his eyes filled with admiration. Ren Wuxia looked at Qin Feiyong helplessly. Qin Feiyong shrugged his shoulders. Lionhead Eagle, this fellow would fall out with him if he said so. He did not dare to get involved. Next, Qin Feiyong and Ren Wuxia stood on the back of the Lionhead Eagle, leading the 15 beasts as they majestically flew towards the Yin County. Wherever they passed, all beasts would bow down in worship. 20 days later, the beasts restrained their auras and entered the territory of the Yin County. Originally, with the Lionhead Eagle's strength, it would only take 3 to 4 days to arrive. However, the 15 War Emperor realm beasts could not keep up with its speed. In addition, after more than 20 years, Ren Wuxia also wanted to have a good time, so he stopped and walked along the way. Qin Feiyong was not in a hurry. After explaining Zhua An's situation to Ren Wuxia, he began to cultivate. Before entering the territory of the Yin County, his strength once again welcomed a breakthrough, stepping into the 7-star martial ancestor realm. This speed, even Ren Wuxia was stunned. Later on, she found out that Qin Feiyong had already opened the 2nd level of the Gate of Potential, and was also a top-grade alchemist. She also liked this free brother from the bottom of her heart. Half an hour later, under the lead of Qin Feiyong, the beasts entered the deep mountains outside the Yin city, hid their auras and hid. Ren Wuxia then brought Qin Feiyong and flew to the top of a mountain near the Yin city. Looking down at the huge city, the Lionhead Eagle and the Blood Eagle turned into the size of a palm, standing on Ren Wuxia's shoulders. Ren Wuxia asked, "Feiyong, do you have any plans?" Qin Feiyong's eyes flashed with a fierce light and said, "The first step of the plan is to find out the identity of the other War Emperor. Let's go to the Martial King Palace and ask Yan Nanshan and the others if they have any clues." Finished. He swallowed a mirage form pill and turned into a young man of about 20 years old. He sneered. "Zuan Jiahe Patriarch Lin, you didn't think that I, Qin Feiyong, would come back, right?" Whiz. With a wave of his hand, Ren Wuxia swept up Qin Feiyong and landed in the forest below in the blink of an eye. Next, the 2 of them walked out of the forest and walked side by side towards the city gate. "Wow, so beautiful. Who is she? How come I've never seen her before? I really want to become the 2 eagles on her shoulders and kiss her. Who is the man next to her? He's actually so close to her?" Along the way, Ren Wuxia was the focus of attention, attracting the gaze of every man. And Qin Feiyong naturally became the public enemy in the eyes of all the men. They arrived at the city gate. The 4 guards guarding the city gate also had love-struck looks on their faces. When Qin Feiyong and Zuan entered the city, they finally remembered that they had forgotten to interrogate the 2 of them. Ren Wuxia was too beautiful. Men were fascinated by her. Women were also envious and jealous. "Sis, you should also change your appearance." Qin Feiyong smiled bitterly. Originally, he wanted to go to the Flying Phoenix house and ask about Zhua An's recent situation. But now, it seemed that if he really entered the Flying Phoenix house with such a femme fatale, he would probably be killed by the gazes of those men. Ren Wuxia couldn't help but smile. "Let's go directly to the Martial Imperial Hall," Qin Feiyong said. Under his guidance, Ren Wuxia brought him to the entrance of the Martial Imperial Hall in less than a moment. Elder Chu walked out of the reception hall with a hint of surprise in his eyes, but more than that he was puzzled. He glanced at the 2 of them and asked, "May I know why the 2 of you have come to the Martial Imperial Hall?" Qin Feiyong smiled and said, "Elder, long time no see. You know me?" Elder Chu looked at him in confusion. Qin Feiyong walked in front of Elder Chu and whispered a name in his ear. "Is it really you, Qin?" Elder Chu's body trembled as he said excitedly, "Shu." Seeing that Elder Chu was about to call out his name, Qin Feiyong hurriedly made a shushing gesture. Elder Chu glanced at the street outside and whispered, How can we verify your identity? Back then, Elder Chu, Fatso, and Lu Hong put on a show together to deceive the black-clothed man from the Blood Slaughter Palace. Qin Feiyang said. It was because of this that he told Elder Chu his true identity without hesitation. It's really you. Elder Chu was overjoyed. He whispered, ever since one sneaked into Yen City, there have been people loitering outside our gate. We suspect that he's from the Blood Slaughter Palace, so I have to verify it. It's only right. Qin Feiyang smiled. He turned his head slightly and glanced at the street. Sure enough, there were a few suspicious people looking in their direction. The hall master has instructed us not to alert them. Hurry up and go to the enforcement hall. By the way, who's this? Elder Chu looked at Ren Wuxuang in confusion. She's my elder sister. Qin Feiyang said. Why didn't I know that you have an elder sister? Moreover, you two don't look alike. Elder Chu was puzzled. Of course they didn't look alike. However, he wasn't in the mood to explain. We'll talk about it later. Qin Feiyang smiled faintly. He led Ren Wuxuang into the Martial Imperial Hall and walked quickly to the enforcement hall. After returning to the Martial Imperial Hall, he felt especially at ease. He felt a sense of belonging that he hadn't felt in a long time. Chapter 251. Disciplinary Hall. Elder Ji sat in the resting room with a frown. Knock knock. Someone knocked on the door. Elder Ji said angrily, Didn't I say not to disturb me if there's nothing important? Creak. The door opened. Qin Feiyang brought Ren Wuxuang into the resting room. Qin Feiyang smiled and said, Elder, what's bothering you that you have such a bad temper? Elder Ji glanced at the two of them and shouted, Who are you? How dare you barge into this elder's resting room? Elder, please calm down. Qin Feiyang took out a facial restoration pill and threw it into his mouth. His appearance immediately changed. Elder Ji suddenly stood up and looked at Qin Feiyang in surprise. Qin Feiyang smiled faintly and said, Elder, you won't blame me, right? Brat. Elder Ji came up and slapped Qin Feiyang's head. She said angrily, Just come back. Why are you being so mysterious? You're asking for a beating, aren't you? Qin Feiyang smiled bitterly. He really couldn't figure it out. How was it mysterious? It was clearly Elder Ji who was too angry. Moreover, if she didn't change her appearance, she would have already caused an uproar in the city. Seeing Qin Feiyang's appearance, Elder Ji couldn't help but shake her head and laugh. She rubbed his head with tears in her eyes. The Swallowpan mountain range is extremely dangerous. You must have suffered a lot along the way. Her voice was also a little hoarse. Qin Feiyang was very touched. He smiled and said, It's all thanks to my sister's help that I could walk out of the Swallowpan mountain range alive. Your sister? The beautiful woman was slightly stunned. Only now did she remember that there was an unbelievably beautiful woman beside her. She turned and looked at Ren Wuxuang suspiciously. Elder, she's called Ren Wuxuang. She's the master of the Swallowpan Mountain Range's Beast Emperor. The lion-headed eagle on her shoulder is the Swallowpan Mountain Range's Beast Emperor. Sister, Old Eagle, this is Elder Ji that I often mention to you. Qin Feiyang introduced them to each other with a smile. Ren Wuxuang bowed and said, Greetings, Elder Ji. Thank you for taking care of Feiyang these past 2 years. It seemed that she had completely integrated into the role of Qin Feiyang's older sister. This also proved that she sincerely regarded Qin Feiyang as her younger brother. Miss Wuxuang, you're too polite. Feiyang is a disciple of the Martial Imperial Hall. It's our duty to take care of him. Elder Ji smiled and pulled Qin Feiyang to the side. He said in a deep voice, Brat, tell me honestly, where did you kidnap this sister of yours from? Abduct? Qin Feiyang was dumbfounded. She really wouldn't stop until she was shocked to death. Ren Wuxuang was not a 3-year-old girl. How could he kidnap her? If they had to talk about abduction, it should be Ren Wuxuang who abducted him, okay? Elder, don't worry. She can be trusted. Qin Feiyang laughed. Actually, he also knew that Elder Ji was worried about Ren Wuxuang's background. Elder Ji looked at him suspiciously, turned around and walked to the side of the tea table. He looked at Ren Wuxuang and smiled. "Wuxuang, please sit." Ren Wuxuang nodded and sat at the side of the tea table. As Elder Ji brewed tea, he smiled and said, "Did Fei Yang cause you any trouble?" "I'm the one who should be troubling him," Ren Wuxuang said with a smile. Elder Ji said, "I wonder where you came from? I've been to the Swallowpan mountain range a few times, but why haven't I seen you before?" Ren Wuxuang smiled without batting an eyelid. "I've been cultivating in the cave all year round. It's normal that the elder hasn't seen me before." This was a battle between two women. Qin Feiyang couldn't interrupt, nor did he dare to. After all, these were two true war emperors throughout the entire conversation. Whether it was Elder Ji or Ren Wuxuang, they both appeared to be very friendly. However, with regards to the ruins, Ren Wuxuang did not mention a single word. "Haha, stinking brat, seeing you come back, why do I have the urge to beat you up?" After a while, a loud laugh came from outside the door. Yan Nanshan and Elder Wan walked into the resting room one after another, their faces full of smiles. "Greetings, Hallmaster." "Greetings, Elder Wan." Qin Feiyang hurriedly went up to pay his respects. Yan Nanshan sized up Qin Feiyang, patted him on the shoulder and nodded. "It's good that you're back." His words were short, but they touched Qin Feiyang's heartstrings. Elder Wan asked, "Feiyang, is this your sister?" Qin Feiyang nodded and introduced the two of them. "Beast Emperor." The two of them looked at the lion-headed eagle in shock. They didn't expect this bastard to be related to the Swallowpan Mountain Range's Beast Emperor. If one survives a great disaster, there will be good fortune in the future. This sentence was indeed true. After chatting for a while, everyone got to the point. Qin Feiyang said, "Hallmaster, elders, has there been any movement from Zhuan recently?" Yan Nanshan shook his head. "No, ever since he used Zhang Jingyi's identity to sneak into the treasure pavilion, he hasn't appeared in front of anyone." "What about Luo Qianxue?" Qin Feiyang asked. "Not long after the incident, she came to Yen City. She's temporarily staying at the Flying Phoenix Pavilion. With Stewardly taking care of her, her safety shouldn't be a problem." "We didn't tell her that Zhang Jingyi was impersonated by Zhuan," Yan Nanshan said. "Indeed, we can't tell her. Otherwise, she will break down." Qin Feiyang sighed deeply and asked, "Do you have any clues about the other war emperor?" "No." Yan Nanshan shook his head. Qin Feiyang said in a deep voice, "We can't wait any longer. We have to take the initiative to attack. Otherwise, when Zhuan breaks through to the 9-star war emperor, it will be even more difficult to deal with him." "Do you have any plans?" Yan Nanshan looked at him expectantly. Although he was much stronger than Qin Feiyang in terms of strength, he was still inferior to him in terms of intelligence. Qin Feiyang said, "On the way back, I have been thinking about it. I have indeed come up with a plan, but I need your cooperation." "Say it." Yan Nanshan said, "Beat the grass and scare the snake. Let them panic. Once they panic, they will naturally reveal their flaws." Qin Feiyang's eyes flashed with a cold light. This time, he wanted the Blood Slaughter Palace to be completely annihilated. He wanted Zhuan to never be able to rise again. Beat the grass and scare the snake? Yan Nanshan and the others looked at each other, their eyes full of doubts. Qin Feiyang said, "The first step is to sneak into Zhuan's cultivation room." No. As soon as the words came out, it was immediately opposed by several people. Zhuan was a great demon. Sneaking into his cultivation room was akin to courting death. Qin Feiyang smiled. If it were anyone else, they would definitely be courting death. But I am different. I have an ancient castle. If I hide in the castle, he won't be able to find me. Ren Wuxuang said, "If you insist on going, Old Eagle and I will accompany you. That would be for the best." Qin Feiyang was overjoyed. With the two of them, especially Old Eagle, the aura he released was even stronger than Yan Nanshan. Even if Zhuan discovered them, they would still be able to protect themselves. The beautiful woman asked, "What about the second step?" "Let's wait for the first step to be completed." Qin Feiyang took out an image crystal and established a contract with Yan Nanshan. He then looked at Ren Wuxuang and smiled. "Sister, do you have an image crystal? What do you think?" Ren Wuxuang asked. Qin Feiyang smiled bitterly. After saying that, He realized that he had asked a very stupid question. Ren Wuxia was from the state capital. He could even afford a transformation pill, let alone an image crystal. After Ren Wuxia took out an image crystal and established a contract, Qin Feiyong stood up and looked at Yan Nanshan and the other two. Wait for my news. Be careful. Yan Nanshan warned. Qin Feiyong nodded and took out an illusion pill. He turned into a young man and sent Ren Wuxia into the ancient castle. This femme fatale must not be by his side. Then, Qin Feiyong left the martial imperial hall. He walked and stopped until noon. He stopped in front of the Flying Phoenix Pavilion. But he hesitated. In the end, he did not go in to find Luo Qianxue. Now was a critical period. He could not cause any trouble. After a while, he arrived at the treasure pavilion. As soon as he entered the hall, he saw two old acquaintances. It was Lin Hao and Lin Hua. The two of them were in front of a counter and seemed to be choosing something. The staff behind the counter was introducing it with a flattering face. You're living a carefree life, but soon it will be your end, Qin Feiyong secretly sneered. This time, a staff member came up and looked at Qin Feiyong with a smile. Guest, what can I do for you? Qin Feiyong said. Take me to the auction house, I want a VIP room. The staff member apologized. I'm really sorry, the VIP rooms are full today. Qin Feiyong was surprised. The staff member explained. This afternoon, we will auction the top-grade red fireglass pill. So the patriarchs of the major families have already reserved a seat. Qin Feiyong suddenly realized. Why are you explaining so much to him? One look and I can tell that he is a country bumpkin who has never seen the world. Two piercing words were uttered all of a sudden. Qin Feiyong raised his eyebrows and turned to look at Lin Hao and Lin Hua. It was them who spoke. The two of them were arrogant and looked at Qin Feiyong disdainfully. Qin Feiyong said, Who do you think you are? Treasure Pavilion is opened by your family? And the top-grade red fireglass pill is refined by your family? Yo! How dare you talk to us like this? Lin Hao and Lin Hua screamed and walked toward Qin Feiyong unkindly. The crowd around couldn't help but fold their hands and watch the show. The staff member also hurriedly retreated to the side. The distance between Qin Feiyong and Lin Hao was only 5 or 6 meters. The two of them came in front of Qin Feiyong in a few steps. Lin Hao sneered. Do you know who we are? I don't know who you are. I only know that the top-grade red fireglass pill is refined by Qin Feiyong. I also heard that a man named Lin Hua was kicked in the balls by Qin Feiyong. Is it you? Qin Feiyong stared at Lin Hua with a playful look. Lin Hua's face immediately twisted. He stared at Qin Feiyong and said, Tell me your name, I promise to kill your whole family. You? Qin Feiyong looked disdainful. Arrogant bastard, I'll kill you first. Lin Hua was furious and his eyes were filled with murderous intent. He slapped toward Qin Feiyong. Two-star martial ancestor? Qin Feiyong shook his head. Lin Hua had already broken through to two-star martial ancestor at Yi and the first prince's wedding. Now that so much time had passed, he was still a two-star martial ancestor? His innate talent was really frighteningly bad. In fact, Lin Hua's talent was already very good. Compared to his peers in Yen City, he could definitely be called the best. But because Qin Feiyong's speed was too fast, Lin Hua was like a fool compared to him. Qin Feiyong raised his arm and waved gently. With a bang, he slapped Lin Hua's arm away. He even staggered and was almost sent flying. Chapter 252. The surrounding crowd couldn't help but shrink their pupils. With a wave of his hand, he slapped Lin Hua away. This young man's strength is too strong? Lin Hua felt it the most, because his arm was already numb. He felt that the other party didn't even use 1/10 of his strength. If the other party added a little more strength just now, his arm would definitely be crippled. This person definitely has the strength to sweep away the younger generation of Yen City. Lin Hao was also a little stunned. When did Yen City have such a character? Such a powerful strength shouldn't be unknown. He said in a deep voice, Who the hell are you? Qin Feiyong said lightly, I'm just a passerby, don't ask for a snub again. Huh? Lin Hao laughed. Do you know? Arrogant people are destined to not live long. Since you know that the supreme-grade crimson glass pill was refined by Qin Feiyang, then you should know his character. He's more arrogant than you, but the result? He died earlier than anyone else. This is the disaster caused by arrogance. Lin Hao's eyes were full of ridicule. Is that so? The corner of Qin Feiyang's mouth lifted, and there was a meaningful smile on his face. See if you won't shed tears until you enter the coffin. This young master might as well tell you the truth. Today, if you don't kneel down and admit your mistake, don't think about walking out of the treasure pavilion's door. Lin Hao crossed his arms and stared at Qin Feiyang with a smile. Kneel down and admit my mistake? Qin Feiyang's eyes narrowed slightly. Without saying a word, he directly kicked. Lin Hao flew into a rage and hurriedly retreated. But with Qin Feiyang's current strength, how could he avoid it? Crack! A kick hit the crotch. The egg was broken on the spot. Blood spurted out wildly. Lin Hao was paralyzed on the ground, both hands covering his crotch, his face twisted in pain, screaming again and again. The people around, including those staff, all of their faces changed drastically. He actually kicked Lin Hao's family jewels? One must know that Lin Hao is now Lin Han's only son. This person's action is undoubtedly ending the Lin family's bloodline. This matter is big. Brother Hao. Lin Hua's face also changed. He squatted on the ground and looked at Lin Hao anxiously. Quick! Get someone to take him down. I want to put him to death by 1,000 cuts. I want him to beg for death. Lin Hao roared hysterically. Men, take down this madman. Lin Hua shouted. A group of black-clothed men immediately rushed out from one of the corridors of the precious treasure pavilion. All of them looked ferocious. Qin Feiyang frowned. These people were not from the Lin family. They were the guards of Zhenbao Pavilion. But he actually listened to Lin Hua's orders? Stop! It was because of this. A slightly hoarse and cold voice rang out. Manager Li strode out from the corridor. Lin Hua roared, Manager Li, this person is committing crimes in the treasure pavilion. Quickly take him down. Not only did you order the guards of my precious treasure pavilion, you even dare to order me? Where did you borrow your courage from? Manager Li's face was gloomy as he stared coldly at Lin Hua. Lin Hua shrunk his neck. Scram right now! Manager Li shouted. But Lin Hua hurriedly pointed at Qin Feiyang. I will take care of it, you don't have to worry about it, Manager Li expressionlessly said, pointing at Qin Feiyang, and shouted to the guards, take him down for me, I want to interrogate him personally. At the same time, he secretly gave Qin Feiyang a look. Qin Feiyang understood. When the guards surrounded him, he did not resist. This matter is not over yet. Lin Hua resentfully looked at Qin Feiyang, then carried Lin Hao and quickly ran out of the precious treasure pavilion. Clean up the blood on the floor. Manager Li ordered a few staff members, then looked at the two guards who were holding Qin Feiyang, and shouted, bring him and follow me. Finished. Manager Li turned around and walked towards the second floor. Go quickly. The two guards coldly shouted, while pushing Qin Feiyang, and patting Qin Feiyang's head hard. Qin Feiyang said in a deep voice, you better restrain yourselves. You dare to threaten us. One of the guards was furious, and fiercely kicked Qin Feiyang's back, almost knocking Qin Feiyang to the ground. You're dead. Qin Feiyang secretly muttered. A shocking murderous intent flashed in the depths of his eyes. Second floor. In a remote room. There was nothing inside and it was extremely dirty and messy. Manager Li walked in, and without turning his head said, I want to interrogate him alone, you guys go out first. Yes. The two guards respectfully responded, released Qin Feiyang, and left the room. But they did not leave, nor did they close the door, standing side by side outside the door. It gave people the feeling that they were monitoring Manager Li. Manager Li shouted, close the door for me. The two guards looked at each other, somewhat hesitant. Do you even dare to disobey this old man's words? Manager Li turned to look at the two, his old face full of anger. We don't dare. The two guards were shocked and hurriedly closed the door. Phew! Manager Li let out a long breath. Qin Feiyang moved his shoulders and was about to speak. Shoo! Manager Li hurriedly made a shushing gesture and whispered, I know it's you, brat, but now is not the time to talk. Cooperate with me to put on a show. Put on a show? Qin Feiyong was a little puzzled, but did not ask more. Bastard, who are you? You dare to make trouble in the treasure pavilion. Do you want to die? See if I don't beat you to death. Manager Li cursed angrily. Qin Feiyong also screamed very cooperatively, and at the same time cut his wrist, smearing the blood all over his body. The two guards outside heard the commotion inside, and there was a trace of a smile on their faces. A moment later, Qin Feiyong lay weakly on the ground, covered in blood. Manager Li opened the door, looked at the two guards outside, and said to the one on the left, "Come in and help me." Yes. The guard walked into the room, and when he saw Qin Feiyong's miserable appearance, he could not help but shiver. Manager Li closed the door again, and unexpectedly killed the guard directly. Then, he kicked Qin Feiyong and whispered, "Stop pretending, get up, change into his appearance and change clothes." Qin Feiyong turned over and got up. Without asking, he quickly took off his clothes. After disguising himself, Manager Li looked up and down at Qin Feiyong for a moment, and nodded in satisfaction. Then, Manager Li stomped on the guard's face. Crack! The guard's brain burst, leaving only a headless corpse. Damn, when did this old man become so cruel? Qin Feiyong was secretly surprised. Manager Li whispered, "This person's figure is similar to yours now. I believe no one will doubt it." Qin Feiyong nodded. This guard was now wearing his clothes and had no head. If he carried him out, others would only think that he had been killed by Steward Li. Manager Li opened the door and shouted, "Take the body out and bury it." Dead? The guard standing at the door was stunned, and hurriedly turned and ran into the room. When he saw the corpse lying on the ground, his face could not help but turn pale. Right. Manager Li seemed to suddenly remember something, and pointed to Qin Feiyong. "Come with me, I have something to ask you." "Yes." Qin Feiyong respectfully responded, and followed in large strides. After the two left, the guard shook his head and muttered, "What a miserable death. I didn't expect Manager Li to have such a terrifying side." He did not realize that the corpse in front of him was actually his companion. In the lounge, Manager Li closed the door, and let out a long sigh. Qin Feiyong frowned. "Senior, what's going on?" Manager Li said angrily, "It's all because of Zuan. Ever since he pretended to be the pavilion master and entered the treasure pavilion, he has been sending people to monitor me day and night." Qin Feiyong asked, "Those guards are monitoring you?" "Yes." Manager Li nodded and sneered. "Zuan thought that I didn't notice, but in fact I have long noticed. You little brat, you really make people worry. You crippled Lin Hao as soon as you entered the treasure pavilion. Aren't you causing trouble for me?" Manager Li glared at Qin Feiyong angrily. Qin Feiyong pursed his lips. Who asked him to be so arrogant? That kind of small fry can be dealt with at any time. Don't you know how to endure it? If I didn't appear in time, I'd like to see how you deal with it. Manager Li was furious. Qin Feiyong smiled embarrassedly and asked, "How did you know that I'm here?" "It was Yan Nanshan who informed me. He even showed me your disguise. Otherwise, who would know that you're Qin Feiyong?" Manager Li rolled his eyes at him. Qin Feiyong asked, "Did the temple master tell you my plan?" Manager Li nodded and frowned. "Zuan is in seclusion in the secret chamber under the treasure pavilion, but it's difficult to sneak in. Also, are you confident that you can find out the identity of the other combat emperor?" "It's not about whether I'm confident, but I must succeed." Qin Feiyong clenched his fists and said firmly, "All right, let me think about how to sneak in." Manager Li lowered his head and pondered. Qin Feiyong asked suspiciously, "By the way, why would the guards of the treasure pavilion listen to Lin Hua's orders?" "It's because of Zuan," Manager Li said. Qin Feiyong was enlightened. Lin Hua and the others were now disciples of the Bloodslaughter Palace. As the palace master, Zuan would naturally take special care of them. Qin Feiyong thought for a while. Then, a glint flashed across his eyes as he asked, "Did anyone come to look for Zuan during this period? If someone came to look for Zuan, it must be someone from the Bloodslaughter Palace. If a combat emperor came to look for Zuan, it must be someone who sought refuge with the Bloodslaughter Palace. No, even Jia He and Ancestor Lin didn't come." Manager Li shook his head. Qin Feiyong frowned, but it made sense. Zuan was such a cunning person. How could he send his men to the treasure pavilion to look for him? If there was any order, it must be through the image crystal. What about Lin Chun? Qin Feiyang asked. I haven't seen him. Manager Li scratched his head and said, now that you mention it, I also feel strange. As An's disciple, Lin Chun should be with him. Have you ever been to that secret room? Qin Feiyang asked. Manager Li shook his head and said, never. The last time I wanted to go in, he stopped me at the door. Qin Feiyang sneered, in my opinion, Lin Chun might have already disguised himself and sneaked into that secret room. Think about it quickly. Manager Li urged. Chapter 253. Xuan was treacherous and cunning. To deal with him, he had to kill him in one blow. So, Qin Feiyang did not dare to make a decision now. After pondering for a moment, he finally had an idea and asked, do you know what Xuan's hobbies are? Steward Li said, I don't know him at all. God knows what his hobbies are. Qin Feiyang smiled and said, you don't know him, but you should know Zhang Zhengyi, right? Why are you talking about the pavilion master? Steward Li was puzzled. Qin Feiyang said, don't forget that Xuan is now Zhang Zhengyi. Zhang Zhengyi's hobbies are his hobbies. Steward Li thought for a moment and said with a smile, the pavilion master likes to drink. Qin Feiyang said, that's easy. Prepare a pot of good wine and send it to him. Will Xuan accept it? Steward Li frowned. Qin Feiyang said, of course he must like what Zhang Zhengyi likes. Otherwise, his identity will be exposed. Steward Li suddenly understood and gave Qin Feiyang a thumbs up. I have a pot of wine here. He waved his hand and a sealed wine pot appeared on the ground out of thin air. When Qin Feiyang opened the wine lid, an intoxicating wine fragrance immediately assailed his nostrils. Then, he jumped on top of the wine pot and entered the castle with a thought. The castle turned into dust and fell on the wine pot. What's going on? Steward Li was a little stunned. The next moment, his image crystal was reacting. He took it out, and Qin Feiyang's illusory image quickly appeared. What are you doing? Steward Li looked at him in confusion. Qin Feiyang said, shake the wine pot and let me see if the castle falls in. Steward Li held the wine pot and shook it gently. Qin Feiyang immediately heard the sound of water. Qin Feiyang smiled and said, no problem. The castle is now in the wine pot. Close the lid and send it to Xuan. So this is how you plan to sneak in. Aren't you afraid that Xuan will really drink you into his stomach? Steward Li teased. It's even better if he drinks it. I'll make him explode. A cold light flashed in Qin Feiyang's eyes. You win. Manager Li waved his hand and turned off the image crystal. Then he carried the wine jar and walked towards the underground secret room. The underground secret room was the forbidden area of the treasure pavilion. Usually, only Manager Li and Zhang Zhengyi were allowed to enter, because the treasure pavilion's treasury was inside. A moment later, Steward Li came to the entrance. The entrance was a stone door that was tightly shut. Manager Li pressed a button on the wall beside him, and the stone door slowly opened. There were 2 War King guarding it. When they saw Manager Li, they immediately bowed. Manager Li smiled and said, I'm going to deliver a jar of wine to the pavilion master. You guys keep a close watch and don't let anyone sneak in. All right. The 2 of them nodded. Steward Li carried the wine jar and walked through the stone door. In front of him was a 1-meter-wide passage. On both sides of the passage, there was a luminous stone hanging at intervals, emitting a hazy luster. A dozen breaths later, Manager Li came to the end of the passage. There were 2 stone doors at the end. The stone door at the front was larger, about 3 to 4 meters wide. This was the entrance to the treasury. The stone door at the side was only 1 meter wide. It was the secret room where Xuan was. Phew! Manager Li took a deep breath and knocked on the stone door. Who is it? Zhang Zhengyi's voice came from inside. Pavilion Master, it's me. Manager Li smiled. A moment later, the stone door opened and a familiar figure stood in front of Manager Li, blocking his view. He could only see the secret room behind the stone door. It was brightly lit, as if it was daytime. This person was Zhang Zhengyi. However, he was an imposter. Xuan smiled and asked, What's the matter? Manager Li smiled and said, Pavilion Master, I saw that you've been in seclusion, so I wanted to send you a jar of wine to relieve your tiredness. Xuan smiled and said, Thank you, but I'm not in the mood to drink now. Not in the mood? Manager Li was stunned and said with a worried face, You don't even want to drink your favorite wine. Did something happen? My favorite. Xuan's heart trembled. He shook his head and sighed. It's all because of Qingzhu. Although she and Qin Feiyang hooked up with each other, she's still my daughter. I feel terrible killing her with my own hands. Sigh. Manager Li sighed deeply and comforted. Pavilion Master, the dead can't be brought back to life. Don't blame yourself too much. Okay. Xuan nodded and smiled. Speaking of which, I really want to drink a little. Give me the jar of wine. You can drink a little, but don't drown your sorrows with wine. Manager Li handed the jar of wine over and said with concern, I know. Xuan nodded and hugged the jar of wine. He smiled and said, Thank you for taking care of the treasure pavilion during this period. Manager Li waved his hand and said, This is what I should do. If there's nothing else, I'll go back to work. Go. Xuan waved his hand and said with a smile. Manager Li turned and strode away. His old eyes flashed with a trace of shocking cold light. Xuan sneered and went into the secret chamber with the jar of wine. A young man in purple walked out from a corner. Who else could it be but Lin Chan? This Manager Li is really troublesome. Master, let's find a chance to get rid of him. Lin Chan walked over and closed the stone door. He looked at the jar of wine in Xuan's hand with a fierce light in his eyes. Don't worry, I'll kill him sooner or later. Xuan smiled coldly and asked, Does Zhang Jingyi really like to drink? Lin Chan nodded and said, I heard that he really likes good wine. Xuan put the jar of wine on the ground and said, Open it and see if there's anything hidden in it. Okay. Lin Chan grabbed the lid and lifted it. The fragrance of the wine immediately made his eyes light up. Xuan was not moved at all. Good wine. Lin Chan took a sniff and carefully checked it. He looked up at Xuan and said with a smile, Master, there's nothing unusual. Can you give this jar of wine to me? Xuan shouted, Don't you know that drinking will ruin things? After he finished speaking, he directly kicked the jar of wine and said, If you want to drink, lick it clean. I don't want to. Lin Chan hurriedly shook his head. His face was a little pale. You're still addicted to wine and women. You're really hopeless. If you continue like this, don't blame me for being ruthless and refining you into a blood spirit pill. Xuan glanced at him coldly and walked to the center of the secret chamber. He sat on a futon and took out a blood spirit pill and began to refine it. Inside the ancient castle, Qin Feiyang smiled and said, I quite admire Xuan for this. Indeed, wine should be avoided as much as possible. He's very cautious. There's a reason why he's still alive today. Ren Wushuang said. So what if he's cautious? He still can't beat the boss. He'll never expect that we're lurking in his lair. Fatso's face was full of disdain. I just want to avenge Ling Yunfei and the others. Wolf King's eyes flashed with a fierce light. Ren Wushuang glanced at them, then looked at Qin Feiyang and asked, Feiyang, we've already sneaked in. Can we start the second step of the plan? Yes. Qin Feiyang nodded and took out the image crystal. After a while, Yin Nanshan and the other two's shadows condensed. Qin Feiyang said with a smile, Temple Master, Elders, we've successfully sneaked into the secret chamber where Xuan is. Good. The three were overjoyed. Qin Feiyang said, Next, I'll have to trouble you to personally go and interrogate the first prince Lin Hao, Lin Hua, Shuiyang, Wang Xia, Xiafang, and the others. Interrogate what? Yin Nanshan was puzzled. Qin Feiyang said, Interrogate them about what happened in the Swallowpan mountain range back then. Yin Nanshan frowned and said, Is that useful? They'll definitely insist that it was you who wanted to take those herbs. Interrogating them won't yield any results, and they're not my target. I want to make Jia He and the others feel guilty. If you investigate this matter with a suspicious attitude again, they'll definitely think that you might have noticed something. At that time, they'll send a message or come to discuss with Xuan in person. In this way, I can find out who the other combat emperor is from their conversation. Qin Feiyang sneered. I see. Brat, you're really something. Yin Nanshan laughed and turned off the image crystal. He looked at the beautiful woman and the elder and said, "This plan is perfect. We must grasp it well." The two nodded. Elder one scolded jokingly, "This brat is really evil." The beautiful woman said, "Actually, the most powerful one is not Qin Feiyang, but the ancient castle in his hands. Without that ancient castle, this plan can't be carried out at all. Yes, no one can sneak up to Zhuan without anyone noticing. Let's not care about this. Old one, you go to the Danwang Hall. Elder Ji, you go to the Lin family. I'll go to the palace personally. Let's go." The three of them got up and disappeared at lightning speed. The royal family. Yan Nanshan descended on the throne room like a ray of light. Swoosh! King Yan sensed his arrival immediately and flew out from one of the palaces. He smiled and said, "Brother Yan, what brings you to my palace today?" Yan Nanshan said, "King Yan, I'm not here to be your guest today. I'm here to look for the first prince to investigate the Swallowpan mountain range." King Yan frowned and asked doubtfully, "Hasn't the truth been revealed?" Yan Nanshan said, "To be honest, I found a few suspicious clues. You'll know when you see the first prince." "All right." King Yan nodded and said loudly, "Chief Commander, bring the first prince here immediately." Whoosh! In less than 10 breaths, a rough-looking man in golden armor rushed up to the sky with the first prince. This man was the chief commander of the palace. "Greetings, Palace Master." The two of them bowed to Yan Nanshan. Yan Nanshan nodded and looked at the first prince. "I'd like to ask if Zhang Jingyi killed Qin Feiyang and the others because they wanted to take the herbs for themselves?" The first prince smiled and said, "Yes, Palace Master." "Then why did I find a large area of destruction when I went to investigate the Swallowpan mountain range? With Zhang Jingyi's strength, shouldn't it be easy for him to kill Qin Feiyang and the others? What's going on?" Yan Nanshan asked. "What?" The first prince's pupils constricted and he could not help but panic. King Yan asked doubtfully, "Brother Yan, when did you go to the Swallowpan mountain range? Why didn't I know?" "A few days ago." "To be honest, King Yan, I didn't believe that Qin Feiyang would do such a thing. Therefore, I secretly went to the Swallowpan mountain range and found many suspicious points. Based on the situation at the scene, it was obvious that there was a tragic battle." Yan Nanshan said calmly without blushing, "My son, what's going on?" King Yan frowned. The first prince shook his head. "Father, I don't know either. It might be caused by the ferocious beasts of the Swallowpan mountain range." The chief commander smiled. "The ferocious beasts of the Swallowpan mountain range are extremely strong. It's not impossible for them to kill each other." "Palace Master Yan, you're thinking too much." Yan Nanshan glanced at him and a glint flashed in his eyes. "I believe in my instincts. There must be something wrong here. I'll continue investigating until the truth is out." "King Yan, sorry to disturb you. I'll leave first." Yan Nanshan said firmly before turning and leaving quickly. "Is Yan Nanshan crazy?" The chief commander frowned. "You can't blame him. He placed too much hope on Qin Feiyang. Now that something like this has happened, it's normal for him to find it hard to accept. My son, if he comes to ask you again, try your best to cooperate with him. You don't have to worry. A straight foot is not afraid of a crooked shadow. Without conclusive evidence, he won't dare to do anything to you." King Yan said. "Yes." The first prince bowed and replied. Chapter 254. The same thing was happening in the Danwang Hall and the Lin family. Elder Wan and Elder Ji's interrogation methods were similar to Yan Nanshan's. Old ancestor Lin and Jia He were experienced and calm, so they could still sit still. However, Lin Hao and the others were obviously starting to feel uneasy. Colluding with Zhuan was a crime punishable by death. If they were exposed, they would all die. In the ancient castle, Fatso frowned. "Why is there still no movement?" "Shoo!" Lu Hong made a shushing gesture. There was dead silence. Even Qin Feiyang and the others deliberately suppressed their breathing and heartbeat to the minimum. No one knew how much time had passed. "Didn't I tell you not to look for me if there's nothing important? What if the king of Yin finds out?" Suddenly, Zhuan's voice echoed in the ancient castle. Qin Feiyang perked up and said, "Lu Hong, Take out the image crystal and record it. Lu Hong nodded. At the same time, in the secret chamber outside, Xuan held the image crystal in his hand. A golden shadow stood in the void in front of him. If Qin Feiyong saw this shadow, he would definitely be ecstatic. This was because this person was the Grand Commander of the royal family. The Grand Commander said respectfully, "Palace Master, I don't want to disturb you, but there's something I can't decide on." "What is it?" Xuan frowned. Yan Nanshan just came to the palace again to interrogate the first prince. The Grand Commander gave a simple and clear account of the situation at that time. What? He even went to the Yanpan mountain range to investigate. Xuan suddenly stood up, his face extremely gloomy. "What should we do now?" the Grand Commander asked. Xuan pondered for a moment and said, "Don't be nervous. Yan Nanshan only suspects. He can't do anything without any evidence." He added, "Also, keep an eye on the first prince. If there's anything strange about him, find a chance to kill him." Understood. The Grand Commander nodded and frowned. But Yan Nanshan has already said that he will investigate thoroughly. The King of Yan also asked the first prince to cooperate with Yan Nanshan. It doesn't matter. Let him investigate if he wants to. Anyway, it won't be long before I become a 9-star combat emperor. When the time comes, I will be the first to kill him. I will also get rid of the first prince as a puppet. When the King of Yan and the first prince are dead, you, as the great commander of the royal palace, will most likely inherit the throne of the county of Yan. Xuan laughed sinisterly. "Thank you for your guidance, Palace Master." The Grand Commander was wild with joy. He said, "Palace Master, this subordinate has already finished refining the blood demon pills you gave this subordinate last time. Can you give this subordinate some more?" Xuan nodded, "No problem. I'll have Lin Chen send it to you later." "Thank you, Palace Master." The Grand Commander bowed and saluted. Then the shadow quickly dissipated. "Great Commander of the royal family, you finally showed up." Qin Feiyong's eyes flashed. He took out an image crystal and quickly activated it. A short while later, the illusionary figures of Yan Nanshan and the other two appeared. Qin Feiyong went straight to the point. "Palace Master, 2 elders, the other combat emperor is the great commander of the royal family." The 3 of them trembled. When I was interrogating the first prince, I saw that his expression was a little strange. In the end, it was really him. I'll immediately contact Ma Cheng and the King of Yan to discuss the elimination plan, Yan Nanshan said. Qin Feiyong hurriedly said, "Don't tell them first, because even if you tell them the truth, they may not believe it. Instead, they may leak the news." "Then what should we do?" Yan Nanshan frowned. "I have already recorded the conversation between Zuan and the Great Commander. When I get out, I'll summon them. This way they will have no choice but to believe it," Qin Feiyong said. Yan Nanshan sighed. "It's easy to get in, but difficult to get out." "It won't be that difficult. Don't turn off the image crystal. Wait for my news." Qin Feiyong smiled confidently. Outside, Jia He and old ancestor Lin also sent a message to Xuan one after another. Xuan used the same method to appease the two, then took out a Qiankuan bag and handed it to Lin Chan. Next, he opened the stone door of the secret chamber and stood in the passage. He looked at the 2 battle kings guarding the entrance and ordered, "Go to the Flying Phoenix restaurant immediately and buy some dishes for the restaurant." On the surface, he said that he wanted to buy some dishes, but in fact, he was sending them away to create an opportunity for Lin Chan. Yes, the 2 did not suspect anything. They opened the stone door and left in a hurry. Xuan turned to Lin Chan and said, "Hurry up and send the blood demon pill to the great commander. Don't let anyone find out." "Okay." Lin Chan nodded. He took an illusory pill and changed his appearance slightly. He quickly ran out. Good chance. In the ancient castle, Qin Feiyong's eyes lit up. He looked at Yan Nanshan's shadow and said with a smile, "Hallmaster, come to the treasure pavilion now. Xuan will definitely come out to meet you." "Brat, you're full of tricks." "All right, wait for me. I'll be there soon." Yan Nanshan waved his hand and turned off the image crystal. Not long after, Steward Li ran to the door of the secret chamber and said loudly, "Pavilion Master, Yan Nanshan wants to see you. Xuan frowned and said, tell him that I'm not in the mood to receive him right now. Stewardly said, your relationship with Yan Nanshan has always been good. If you don't meet him, it might be inappropriate. Moreover, he also said that he won't leave until he sees you today. How troublesome. Xuan was extremely angry. He got up and opened the stone door. He looked at Stewardly and said with a smile, thinking about it, it's true that I haven't met him for a long time. Lead the way. After the two left, Qin Feiyong appeared out of thin air in the secret chamber. After changing his appearance slightly, he walked out of the secret chamber and strode towards the entrance. After carefully observing for a while, he found the mechanism to open the entrance and left without looking back. It was already evening. Qin Feiyong entered a room on the second floor of the Flying Phoenix restaurant. He took out the image crystal and contacted Stewardly. Soon, Stewardly's shadow appeared. Qin Feiyong asked, Senior, how's the situation over there? Stewardly chuckled and said, Yan Nanshan is drinking tea and chatting with Xuan. Qin Feiyong said, then let them continue drinking. I'm in the Flying Phoenix restaurant now. Which room is Aunt Shui in? Fourth floor, room number 2. There are 2 9-star fighting kings inside. They were sent by Xuan. They said that they were protecting Madam, but in fact they were monitoring her. Stewardly said, that bastard, he really didn't give us any loopholes. Qin Feiyong's eyes flashed coldly. Are you going to take Madam away? Stewardly asked. Yes. Qin Feiyong nodded and said, if we don't take Aunt Shui away first, Xuan will definitely use her to threaten us when his identity is exposed. Stewardly smiled and said, Kid, you're really thoughtful. Qin Feiyong said, I've been taken advantage of by Xuan once. I don't want to be taken advantage of again. Stewardly asked, do you need me to come over and help? Qin Feiyong said, no need. Just keep an eye on Xuan and wait for my news. We'll eliminate them all tonight and return peace to the county of Yan. Okay. Stewardly nodded. Qin Feiyong put away the image crystal, got up and walked out of the room, and went to the 4th floor. In a room, Luo Qianxue sat alone in the tea room. Her eyes were dull and her face was dull. She looked extremely haggard. Outside the tea room, 2 burly men were guarding. They were the 2 9-star fighting kings that Stewardly mentioned. Dong! Suddenly, there was a knock on the door. The 2 burly men were shocked. The man on the left said, go and see who it is. Yes. The man on the right nodded and walked to the door. He asked, who is it? Qin Feiyong lowered his voice and said, Sir, I'm a waiter from the Flying Phoenix restaurant. The man heaved a sigh of relief and opened the door. As soon as the door opened, Qin Feiyong rushed in like lightning. Then, he looked at Luo Qianxue and saw her haggard face. He could not help but feel a dull pain in his heart. You're not a waiter from the Flying Phoenix restaurant. Who are you? The 2 9-star fighting kings were stunned and shouted in unison. Qin Feiyong was not wearing a waiter's uniform at all. Luo Qianxue also raised her head and looked at Qin Feiyong. There was a trace of doubt in her empty eyes. Qin Feiyong looked away and glanced at the 2 burly men. With a thought, Ren Wushuang appeared out of thin air. The lion-headed eagle and the blood eagle were still standing on her shoulders. The 2 burly men were shocked. Why did this scene seem so familiar? That's right. It was Qin Feiyong. Only Qin Feiyong could make people appear out of thin air. But wasn't he dead? Just as the 2 men were shocked, Qin Feiyong nodded to Ren Wushuang. Ren Wushuang attacked like lightning and killed the 2 men directly. He was so fast that they did not even have time to scream. Luo Qianxue suddenly stood up and looked at Qin Feiyong in surprise. If the 2 men could think of it, so could she. But facing this unfamiliar face, she could not be sure. Qin Feiyong walked into the tea room and looked at the beautiful woman who had helped him many times. He felt extremely sad and said, Aunt Shui, I've troubled you. Luo Qianxue's body trembled and tears burst out of her eyes. Qin Feiyong lowered his head and blamed himself. Aunt Shui, I'm sorry. It's my fault. I didn't protect Qingzhu well. Luo Qianxue walked in front of Qin Feiyong and said, Feiyong, I don't want you and Qingzhu to embezzle the herbs. Quickly tell Aunt Shui what happened. Qin Feiyong said, This matter is hard to explain in a few words. You should hide in my ancient castle first. The truth will come to light soon. Okay. Luo Qinshue nodded. After Qin Feiyang sent Luo Qinshue into the castle, he let out a long breath. His eyes became extremely sharp again. He said, "Sister, let's go back to the Martial Imperial Hall." Ren Wuxuang waved his hand and flew out of the window with Qin Feiyang. As for the corpses of the two burly men, Qin Feiyang was not in the mood to care about them. After returning to the conference hall, the first thing Qin Feiyang did was to ask Elder Ji and Elder Wan to inform Ma Cheng, Yan Wang and Elder He to come. And they came secretly. Not long after, Yan Nanshan also came back. Elder Wan asked, "Hall Master, did he say anything?" "What else could he say?" Yan Nanshan sneered. "Whoosh. Not long after, you're tuning into the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.